Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I will call the October 10th Lowell Light Power Board regular board meeting to order. And Charlie, if you do roll call.
Absolutely. Chair Beecham.
Here.
Vice Chair Fonder.
Here.
Board Member Schraub.
Here.
Board Member Cadwalder.
Here.
And Board Member Crawford.
Here.
All in attendance. Approval of the agenda. Any changes or anything?
Sir.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion.
I'll support.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes from the September 12th regular board meeting.
I'll motion to approve the minutes. Supported.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Safety moment.
All right. So I'm going to take the safety moment here. Just scroll down. It's in there. Sorry. It's added for the presentation packet. But for the safety moment, I thought it'd be a month too late, but might as well. Want to talk school bus safety. I thought last month would have been perfect, as buses were really just getting on the road, but there are lots of buses on the roads. There are lots of kids waiting for buses, kids getting on buses, kids getting off of buses. So I thought it would be good just to be mindful of it. Don't have a ton of stats or anything here, but thought it was very interesting, just the number of buses and kids who ride bus every day. Puts it in perspective, and they're all standing out by the road. Something I thought was interesting, I found this infograph, but at the very bottom it talks about most driving infractions are civil infractions. If you do not adhere to school bus traffic laws, it's a criminal offense. Granted, there's a much better just reason for being careful around school buses, and it's the little kids and the families, but even if you're selfish, just the idea of a criminal charge versus civil charge also highlights the importance and the fact that this is about little kids. So if you see a school bus with lights flashing, be aware. You see the stop sign go out, stop. It's pretty simple. So, but it's a lot of just being mindful while you're driving. So that's our safety moment.
Okay, moving on. Public comment. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move to action items. Fiscal year 2023 audit presentation and acceptance.
All right, we are joined today by Mr. Hefner from Bell Hefner. Do our audit every year, and with that, I'll turn it over to Peter to review. And for everybody, you've got a copy of the audit letter and the full audit in your board pack. I also have paper copies here if anybody wants a paper copy. But with that, I'll turn it over, Peter.
Perfect. Again, my name is Peter Hefner, I represent Bell Hefner, the firm of independent certified public accountants that conducted the audit for the year ended June 30th, 2023. The audit process went very smoothly, and it has historically for the past number of years. Your staff pulls together numerous documents and information, provides them to us. We get some things in advance, and it just makes for a pretty straightforward process. This year, I'm going to ask you if you can go to the financial statements.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point out some of the financial statement highlights, if I may. So you had it, yeah, perfect. Yes. So on page 1 of the financial statements, 1 and 2 is our opinion. In the first 2 paragraphs, talk about we conducted an audit. The second paragraph, it's our opinion that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position, results of operations, cash flows for Lowell Light and Power, a component unit of the city of Lowell, for the year ended June 30th, 2023. So that's what I refer to as a clean opinion, that you're following the standards as required by the state of Michigan, Governmental Accounting Standards Board. There are a number of changes in the financial statements this year, and that's why I asked to go to the financial statements themselves. I just wanted to point those items out. So if you would scroll down with me, and I'm gonna tell you which page to go to
Okay.
here. If you would go to page
7.
21.
Oh, okay.
Pick a number, any number.
I was just, you know, thinking what loud number I should use.
So I just wanted to point out, this year was a particularly bad year for your pension. And that is the result of the poor investment performance of the Michigan Employee Retirement System. And the information presented here on the bottom of page 21, that table, I just wanted to point out, if you take a look at the net pension liability at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, that is as of a calendar year. So the investments are tracking as of a calendar year as well. Actually, 2023 has been good up until the last week or two.
Yeah, say it was. We
Yeah.
had for a real good rebound on pension
Right.
funds, but.
And you're only a portion of this balance. But I just wanted to point out, if you take a look at the top right, that net pension liability went from 5.4 million to 7 million. And if you look in the middle, when you see the net investment income in the current year, it's a negative. So that's the resulting in that liability going on. Your pension plan is very well funded. And so I just wanted to point out that change or this issue will be mirrored slightly within the financial statements. That gain or loss gets amortized over a 5-year period, so there's an offset to the shortage on investment income that gets amortized over time. But that's a driver of that net pension liability going up in the current year. Now, if you would turn with me to page 25, in the current year, there was a conscious effort by management to pull together information to more thoroughly disclose your commitments for the purchase of power through renewables, as well as for purchase of through other agreements. And so this is all new in the current year. In the past, if you scroll back to page 24, in the past, there was a lot of disclosure about the combustion turbine, Bell River, Campbell, and that's where your primary revenue sources were. And over time, we added to the commitment footnote. This used to have Campbell, Bell River, combustion turbine, AFAC project. And below, we basically identify you have a commitment to purchase X MW at Pegasus Wind, or this project, or this project, or this project. That next page was added, that disclosure, to put some quantification from a dollar perspective of what was paid in the current year. So if you scroll down to page 5.
25?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was thinking 7.
It's okay.
So if you go down just a little bit further,
Okay.
there, right there. That table provides information with, we have commitments, what did we actually spend in the current year, and up above, it's trying to more thoroughly disclose, if we're buying X quantity in a given year, what is the price, and through what date, et cetera, et cetera. So this is, I think it's a more robust disclosure in the current year. And it was time to do it because you are branching off from those old baseline power, Campbell, Bell River, combustion turbine, to have kind of a whole portfolio of different commitments that you have entered into. The only other 2 items I wanted to point out is this year you implemented a new accounting standard that relates to subscription-based agreements, which are for technology, like entering into an agreement with a software provider for multiple years. Under new accounting standards, when that occurs, you're basically required to account for that action as if you bought a piece of software. It's called a right to use asset, like a capital asset. And you also record a liability that you will be paying that over time into the future. It's a pretty minimal balance that's reported in the current year, but I just wanted to point it out. That new standard that was required to be implemented was implemented. And the last item that I have is, would you turn with me to page 8. So I'm trying to highlight the things that are different from the prior year. Okay, so, yep. So historically, your organization has owned fixed income investments, things such as treasury notes or federal government agency securities. And historically, the interest rates were declining over time, or hovering at about no change for many years. And so there was the impact on your financial statements of those investments was that you were recording interest income as you received it, or earned it. So at the end of a given year, if you had earned interest on an investment, it would be recorded here as interest income and interest receivable. And in the current year, interest rates went up substantially and from the prior year. And historically, there has been no adjustments to the financial statements for changes in market value and the impact on the value of investment securities, because the impact was immaterial to the financial statements year after year after year after year. And it was a management, at one point anyways, I discussed it with management and they were like, we're not interested in doing these adjustments, they're busy work, they're not materially impacting our financial statements. In the current year, you will see you have investment income that's negative. It has become material to your financial statements. And so what has happened is you hold fixed income securities, the interest rate went up, the value went down, and under generally accepted accounting principles, you're required to record those investments at market value. So that's what resulted in that negative investment income in the current year. I suspect, and I didn't look, but I'm fairly positive that you actually had a better year in earning interest than typical because the rates are up. And so for short-term deposits, things of that nature, you can earn more interest. That negative is a result of marking those investments value down. Now, historically, you hold those investments to maturity, you will not realize any of that loss. But that's really kind of an accounting anomaly. Like the pension, the value swings, it will impact you over time, but if it swings right back next year, you're back to the same location, yet it impacted your financial statement. So I wanted to kind of factor out those non-cash items and look more at where did the dollars come from and where did the dollars go to. Now, I don't want to just keep going on and on, so I'll go to the slides, if you will. And I'm happy to walk through the statements, but I want to hit on those things that are changes.
Yes.
And then we'll just take a look at, hey, how did we do in the current year compared to prior years? So you can see in the current year, operating expenses are up, operating revenues are up. It's really the result of purchase power costs. It's not that you're buying more, it's that you're paying more for it per unit. And you had a number of years where you were actually using more and the costs were going down. So we're in a little bit different time period. Now the next slide that we have just shows where are those dollars going. And I have a slide similar to this that shows over time what's been changing. And for the most part, it's just the cost of purchase power. Of course, there's inflationary pressure on wages and other things, but revenues are keeping up with that. You have the power cost adjustment factor as well, and things are wildly fluctuating. But this is a very consistent picture year to year. 5% pilot in the city, depreciation based on what you purchased, etc. Now the next slide that we have, this is looking at those costs, but year to year to year to year. And if you see, the largest fluctuation here is purchase cost, and within administration, I want to point out, because it is up, Is that pension cost? Is that OPEB cost that doesn't get allocated necessarily across all those components of your cost centers? So purchase power. The next slide that we have is really looking at, and we added in 2020, because of the renewables were becoming so significant, what the renewable component of your purchase power costs were. So you can see Campbell is declining, Bell River was up from the prior year, and that can be, those fluctuate a lot based on outages, and, you know, in the future, I think you'll see that they're gonna re-energize, repower,
That's what they call it.
natural gas process for one of those components. But if you look over time, big commitment into renewables, meeting the requirements that the state has put out there. And those fixed components, Campbell, Bell River, are basically gonna go offline. And then one is coming back online, theoretically. And I don't know that there's a formal commitment to that at this point, or is there?
So it's probably a better conversation for MPPA because it's tied up in the legal structure. Because we have an equity stake, it changes things because we are part owners.
Sure.
So it changes exactly, the plant is being repowered.
Okay.
That's been, that was included in DTE's integrated resource plan that was accepted by the Michigan Public Service Commission. And as part owners, I would say that implies our future commitment there.
And so I would assume when that occurs, there'll be an additional commitment from MPPA for a portion of the debt associated with repowering it. And we'll go back to additional disclosure in your notes. The next picture or slide just shows over time what's happened in your net position, your bottom line. So over time, you've been able to add to your bottom line. This was a year that was impacted by interest income, which is a non-cash item. The pension, which again, theoretically short-term, is a non-cash item. But a nice positive for the current year, providing you with resources to invest in things such as, you know, this building or changes in the system. But from my perspective, very clean audit, and it's a pleasure to work with you folks. So we appreciate that. Are there questions I can answer about the process?
I only have a couple. How many municipalities do you audit, and how many power companies within those
I believe
municipalities?
we do audit 5 with power. So we do like Traverse City, South Haven, Grand Haven, you folks, there's another one out there, I just can't call it off the top of my
That's
head.
fine.
And we audit probably cities, we audit 30, municipal governments, maybe 7. And we don't work for for-profit organizations. And the rest of our work is counties and nonprofits.
That's all. I mean, I just, because we've picked your brain before of how we always like to know how we stand up against other,
Sure.
you know, other municipalities, and, you know, what are we doing wrong, what are we doing right, what are the things that we can improve on.
Sure. I can tell you, you have a top-notch accounting group that pulls together information, and your audit goes really smoothly, and that's not always the case. I can tell you when we get outside of the power realm, it's often not the case. That they don't have, or they have not committed the resources to have people online that know the accounting, the financial reporting, when changes are coming. So I would say you're 90 percentile as far as top knowledgeable folks. And then operating, it's really dependent on the rates.
Right.
And having a plan that is consistently applied for modifications to your systems or additional purchases of this or that, to allow those rates to consistently cover those costs. And you can see it's consistently is happening.
Okay, thank you.
Couple questions there more. I think probably for Charlie. I noticed the custodial credit risk. So the money that we have in the bank, if the economy tanked, the bank, went out of business, we would, lose, most of our funding in there. So, in the unlikely event, is there anything we want to think about doing to hedge that, or do we feel confident enough in the banking system that something like this is not going to happen and we're not going to be affected?
So I can speak to that, and I'd love to hear Peter's opinion. I know that, there's different ways of tackling that. I've been places where we've required banks to provide,
Collateral.
promissory records.
Yep.
All of our money is with Huntington Bank and
Fifth
Third. So we all have we all have major issues if Huntington Bank and Fifth Third can't meet their obligations, but I'd love to hear your opinion, Peter.
I can tell you there's other states that were requiring 100% collateralization, or going to 5 banks to get the maximum coverage from each of those. And in Michigan, it's very rare. I do have clients that collateralize their deposits, or they also enter a program which was called Cedars. And there may be several flavors of that, but that's where you take your money to a bank and they send it to banks to get the coverage of, let's say, $250,000 at each and every one. There's a cost to that. Collateralization, you're gonna pay basis points, and now that there's interest available, maybe it makes more sense, I don't know. But I would say in Michigan, it's not very commonly done.
Okay.
Not that it isn't a good idea, but, so there is risk there. That's just the risk that if you have a deposit with a bank that exceeds FDIC insurance, what happens if that bank goes down? And we saw it at several in the last year.
Yeah, Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also why we don't bank with Silicon Valley Bank. Type coverage. It's one we talk about staying with. I don't particularly. The smaller banks tend to give better interest rates. They're more competitive, from my experience. Community banks tend to get a little bit more aggressive, and your big mega banks just kind of sit back. But with having accounts in multiple banks, we're able to move. We put a lot of money tied up in money market accounts for next day availability, and I'm not sure if it's been done yet, but we're in the process of moving about $300,000 from one money market account to another, just because just to play the interest rate game. So we're able to still take advantage of pretty lucrative interest rates right now. I think our money markets are north of 4%. 1-year treasury notes are north of 5%. So we stay with the big banks and still try to leverage the interest rate environment to maximize our investments, but that is not something we've had internal discussions about.
Another thing, I noticed that we're getting $49,926 a year in lease revenue.
Yes.
For the property that's connected to here. Are we at market rate with that? Are we below market rate for reason?
It's all in the contract. The contract had an escalator built in based on CPI.
Okay.
I can't tell you the details of how that initial rate was established. I was not part of those conversations, but that there isn't a market-driven inflationary factor applied to that lease rate on an annual basis.
Okay, so this is baked in until, 2029 then. No matter. That's what this says here.
Yeah, I'm honestly not familiar with
Yeah.
that. I'm not intimately familiar with that contract. It
Okay.
just kind of moves along. We collect the money, and once a year we say, hey, there's an update to the lease price, and there's a mutual benefit there, but they don't really have, for as long as they need the process, that's really the only place they can do it, because there's a force main sewer line that cuts through and connects to the lighthouse facility, so But yeah, it is kind of just baked into the contract.
And I
Is that it?
I think they're, with that, Lighthouse, if you don't concern yourself with the cost and, oh, could we make a few more $1,000, yes, but, they are a great, community, company, and like the Pink Arrow and
Right.
Fallisburg Fall Festival, when somebody needs something, they're one of the first ones to step in line and help out. So, sometimes you might not be getting top dollar, but, it's, beneficial to both of us, beneficial. I mean, we represent Lowell Light and Power and the city, we're municipality owned, and, so, if we're losing, if by chance that we're losing a little bit, my feeling is so be it, they are a great, community asset.
And if we think about
Thank you.
if we think about the local environment at the time, doing something with that space, granted I wasn't here, was a far better option than doing nothing. And I think in purpose of that, market rate, it's such a unique situation. I'd be honest, and again, this is the most I've honestly thought about that lease in a long time.
Okay.
It's just one of the things that they're a good neighbor. We think about them, we talk about them, but it's more a day-to-day interaction. How's the relationship on a practical standpoint, where from a contractual standpoint, the contract was put in place. We don't regularly need to go to the lease or anything. We don't have issues, and typically your legal documents come up when there are problems and challenges. So they're great neighbors. So it's not something that we pay, the actual lease we pay a lot of attention to be honest with. We just kind of make sure we stay on top of it, make sure we're collecting our revenues and the rate's going up as it's supposed to, but it just kind of is in place and kind of moving along pretty smooth with them.
Okay.
So, was that the end of your questions? Okay, okay. So, how many years have you been doing the audit for Lowell Light and Power? When did you start?
I think we started probably 10 years ago, would be my guess, could be
10
11.
years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
The
And-
10 years up here, right?
I think I'd call it because it gets so wide,
Oh, okay.
but I'm just guesstimating. Before we did the audit, we actually came out and helped you get ready for your audit.
Oh, okay.
And before the firm I'm with now did your audit, another firm did the audit, and I was employed by that firm as well.
Okay.
So I've worked on your audit for, not for my whole career, but for at least, I would say, 11 years, and I think before that we assisted with getting things ready.
So, in your opinion, Lowell Light and Power is where they should be at,
As far as,
compared to Traverse City, Grand Haven.
I'll tell you
Putting
what
them
you
on
spot.
the spot. Well, no, I just want to make sure that
I can
we're
tell
not
you
the odd duck out.
I do not think you are at all. What I would say is, that I appreciate is that you have a bar, seems, well, you can just see it. You have a board that operates the operation without the conflict and issues that many of our other clients have. Right now, they're trying to withdraw the board at Grand Haven to eliminate it.
To solve, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so from that perspective, I think you just operate smoothly, you provide the services. Quite frankly, I had no power for 3.5 days when we were performing the audit. And I asked your director, how can we get power on my house?
Yes, you did.
And it wasn't really for me. I do have a friend happened across from the high school, and they would like it, and I thought, well, perhaps you could, you're near it.
Right.
And so I think that's a positive that other people are like, I'd really like to have your power too, because you're consistent, you don't go down. Those are all things that are credits to the board and to the people working for this organization that are out there. When it needs to be repaired, they're there. So that's what I see, and I think there's a lot less, just from what I see, a lot less, you see how much public comment you had today, that's a good indicator that you're doing things the public likes, where that's not happening in other locations.
And, I mean, I appreciate having your firm, and partially because you are part of the community, even though, you know, and I know we pick your brain about other organizations a little bit, and you, in general, but, you know, it's, Peter's job is to check, make sure the audit, the finances, everything is reported correctly and everything. It's the board and it's our employees that, you know, make the day-to-day decisions that make Lowell Power what it is for the community and the area. So again, it's nice that it's nice that Peter can give us some insight, but at the same time, his responsibility is fact, you know, make sure that we're recording things, you know, in accordance with accounting.
Yeah, general accepted accounting principles, and, yeah.
It does, at one point in time, we worked on your audit, and we didn't audit the city. And then, after some time, the city said, we'd like to go with you as well. It does make it smoother when you've seen both this component and the city as a whole, and when you're merging them together. Not that another auditor would be auditing you from the city level, but it just makes it smoother on the city's level too. Things get done before it's needed at the city. So there's some benefit to that regardless of who's doing the audit, to consider at the least.
So I guess one question then, sort of a follow-up to Tina's, is like, you mentioned that you've been auditing us for like 11 years in some way or another.
Yeah.
Any trends you've noticed over that time? Just in terms of the audit and...
Well, I can tell you, I can tell you that the best financial reporting we've seen is being performed right now, and I'll stay with that. You know what I mean? I don't want to bash anyone or anything like that.
Well, I will. The general manager position has gotten better and better over these 11 years. I'll answer that question for him, so.
Okay, don't let go up.
Seriously, your people have.
Can't wait for the next one.
Financial reporting pretty well dialed.
Okay.
They know exactly what's occurring. And I was here, you know, some time ago, and I was actually assisting to do bank reconciliations because they couldn't get done. So, you know, that's two very different extremes.
It's come a long way.
I noticed that the negative interest, so that kind of stuck out to me and then kind of brought up why it's like that.
Yeah.
Is that, would that be net of interest income?
Yes.
So that adjustment's way bigger than 85,000?
Yes.
How big was that adjustment?
I can look it up on my computer.
Do like a ballpark of?
I can't recall. Do you?
I
mean,
100, I mean,
it was 115 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was in that 110 range, I thought. One thing I'll say about that is those investments are principal protected though. So they are truly, if we carry them out to full term,
Yeah.
principal is guaranteed. Not all, and they're all, most of them are tied to the mortgage-backed securities.
Right.
Yeah, I just kind of like, when you look at this, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't see like a footnote kind of breaking that out, so just like.
There's no requirement to disclose like market value loss.
Sure.
If you do have to make additional disclosure.
In interest of showing our interest income separate from that loss, I didn't know
Sure.
if that was something we wanted
Show
to.
interest So interest
Yeah, because
income.
it kind of looks weird if your interest income's like 25,000, 35,000 a year, whatever it's at. And then one year just drops way down,
Sure.
and then, you know.
That is an option.
And that's the way the standards like have you classified, I understand that,
Yes.
so it's like,
Yeah.
you know.
We can do
It
that
just like
going
threw me off a
forward.
little bit, like.
We're gonna hope it's not relevant, we're gonna hope it goes back to
You're talking
material.
accountant to accountant, you know.
I think what
Right.
what we'll find is that they'll actually be having more interest income as the rates decline again. You know, if we're at that level, you'll have more than you actually receive in cash. But we could disclose just the market value fluctuation, and then there's additional disclosure. I have no clients that do this, but it can be done, and GAAP says exactly how to do it. It wouldn't change the number in total.
Sure.
But it would be maybe better informative, so we can show that, at least talk to management about it for next year, if there's any kind of meaningful fluctuation.
Yeah, I don't know who's honing in on that number to look at. I just, you know, when you see it, you're like, oh, that's kind of a weird,
Maybe
kind of a weird thing.
running
And it's like,
bond coverage kind of thing, or, you know,
it almost
they might
feels
be
like
interested.
it needed your explanation for me to look at it. I needed that explanation, but like, why is this negative?
Right, yes, sure.
I don't understand. I know we make interest income, and I didn't see anything about, you know, I saw like, talking about like the standard where, hey, you have to change the market value,
Yeah.
but no actual kind of number. Here's
Right,
what we
right.
did, or this was a year that
Sure.
it was material and we did it, so.
Yeah, that's a great point, I think, and, well, at least we've talked about it, and going forward, we can talk about, I'll talk with your team and just, hey, it's a very minimal amount, do you want to go there, or do you want to, you know, until there's another large fluctuation? That, I would suspect, but I'm guessing that interest rates won't be going a ton higher, it'll probably start to go the other way at some point.
Keep going.
But that's a great observation, because it is a bizarre looking number. We audit Ottawa County and 9 entities for them. They'll have a loss of $5 million on their financial
Yeah.
statements. And it looks crazy. 'Cause
It looks,
negative
it just kind of
interest
stands
everywhere.
out. I don't know. That's the-
I think they've just grown used to it there, because they'll have really good years in opposite direction.
Yeah, I just think of someone from the outside who doesn't maybe
Yeah,
necessarily know
absolutely.
what gets wrapped up into that one number. There's not like a bread, you know, there's no like breadcrumb trail, like.
Yeah,
Good luck with anything in Ottawa County.
yeah, I mean, that's become kind of crazy. I guess you're recording there.
Only three people a month watch those two, so.
Very unique, a lot of unique entities after COVID. It's a lot of different things and thoughts are going on out there in the management and boards, so.
Very involved,
Okay, anything else? I would entertain a motion to accept the audit as presented.
So motion?
Supported?
I'll support it, fine.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Well, you can stay if you want, Peter. We're only gonna go 4 more hours or whatever.
We're not going to hold around.
No. We're not doing that.
I'm sorry? Yeah, either or. Either or, and the gate's open too.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's all this.
We'll give them just a couple, let's say, a break after the audit.
Ryan's not eating 7 pounds of popcorn yet, so.
Doesn't help me lose that 30 ass.
It doesn't hurt though either. It doesn't, there's other things that are consumed that don't help more.
Okay, moving on, office schedule, no action requested.
Yeah, so I just thought we would continue the conversation. I'd fill the board in. We had a little bit of a conversation following the city's move to a new schedule, which they're a week and a half into right now. But wanted to kind of brought to light that we were also considering things, tracking things. We have 5 months worth of customer interaction data at this point, but wanted to just go ahead and got a brief presentation. Just want to kind of lay out the strategic initiative a little bit. It's been an internal strategic initiative that we've not really shared too much with the board. We've been kind of in a data collecting phase and just kind of brainstorming phase. But we're starting to get a picture of what things look like. So wanted to provide a little bit of background. Currently, right now, our office staff works 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and all office staff the office staff is required to take a 1-hour unpaid lunch. The strategic initiative essentially was to consider opportunities to alter our schedule, whether it's office hours or office staff schedules for the overall benefit of Lowell Light and Power and its employees. So that's kind of what we're considering is how, and really the strategic initiative is, can we find a win-win situation where Light and Power and our employees both win, and we're starting to hone in on that. So some of the goals that we've laid out as wanting to accomplish here, we want to create a schedule that's a tool to attract and retain high quality employees. Schedule is becoming more and more a focal point from employee retention or a hiring practice standpoint. And inside of that, kind of targeting it, we want to reduce staff's time commitment over the course of a week that it takes to get 40 hours in. Right now, our office staff essentially has to commit 45 hours a week to Lowell Light and Power to get paid for 40. We're not proposing to get paid lunches, but that 1 hour paid lunch, it represents a lot of time.
Unpaid lunch.
Unpaid lunch, I'm sorry, thank you. That 1 hour unpaid lunch represents a pretty significant time commitment every year. If you look at it on an annual basis or weekly basis, it's a pretty big commitment that we're essentially asking our staff to dedicate their time to us. It's 1 hour, middle of the day. Yeah, they can use it to do a little bit, but if we can trim down that 1 hour to a half hour, we can give our employees a lot of their time back to them. So that's one of the goals. Want to formalize schedule flexibility. We're seeing more and more of this. It's actually become a question on the RP3 application, is do you offer schedule flexibility? So it's starting to be considered a best practice. I would say it's something I know we've spoken about, something you're very much supportive of. What we've done, one of the things we've kind of inched into schedule flexibility, and there's some informal flexibility programs that the office staff can take advantage of where they rotate. We look at essential job tasks and how do we make sure we cover having a manager and a customer service rep at all times. So between Julie and Megan, they can alternate weeks on leveraging some schedule flexibility, and then the other 3 women in the office can all kind of rotate leveraging schedule flexibility, and but it's really informal at this point. So it's a good tool to help retain our current employees, but it can't be leveraged to attract new employees because it's informal. It's kind of you can talk to them about it, but you can't put it in writing. So that's kind of the attract and retain high quality employees. And it really, from the Light and Power side of things, it's about strategic initiatives to improve the efficiencies and improve productivity in the office. Not that there's a problem with it, it's just there's been quite a bit of turnover in the office. 3 of the 5 people in the office have less than 3 years experience with Light and Power. Julie and Megan are the only 2 out of the 5 that have more than 3 years experience with Light and Power. So it's been a strategic focus of ours to minimize disruptions, train, cross-train, been a lot of office staff related strategic objectives, and a lot of them roll up into, we're just trying to minimize interruptions has become a target for improving efficiencies. So part of that is improving efficiencies of day-to-day tasks, but the idea is that if we can provide uninterrupted time to the office staff, then the efficiencies will come and we'll actually be able to take on new work as well. So the goal is to try and streamline some processes through minimizing disruptions and interruptions, and then also provide focus time or a dedicated time to allow the office staff to get caught up or more, focus on their secondary duties. All three of the women in the office, outside of Megan and Julie and the leadership team, they all have a secondary duty. Emily handles all of our communications. Lisa handles utility programs. Hillary's our lead CSR and does all of our billing. So there's all these tasks and projects that could occur in these secondary duties, and we've seen, I'm actually going to highlight some of what Emily has brought to the table later in the board meeting, but we've got a really highly talented, highly productive office staff, and providing opportunities to allow them to focus and make contributions outside of directly working with customers, we see as a major goal. So as we look through this, some of the things we're trying to keep in mind is we want to accomplish as many of the goals as possible, acknowledging that maybe all of them are not attainable, or there are different structures that can result in attaining some of the goals. And then also we have a goal of minimizing the impact on customers. That's important, and that goes back to it needs to be to the benefit of Light and Power as a whole. Knowing that we will create some disruptions for individual customers, as long as we are able to serve the greater good and serve our customers as a whole, there's a trade-off in everything. So like I said earlier, we've been tracking customer data for about 5 months now. You'll scroll to the chart. And our goals were, like I said, to identify time, just to see where customers are. So we're tracking, we only went down to the hour. Hindsight, we should have gone down to the half hour, but at some point you just get paralysis by analysis too. So this is 5 months of data of in-person customer interactions, and the things that really, as we saw this, we honed in on that 8 to 10 hour, 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning kind of time frame, where it's by far, that 8 to 9 time frame. And hours at the bottom are hour beginning, not hour ending. So between 8 and 9 is by far the least traffic time of the day, significantly. Something I thought was interesting, the 12 to 1, when I thought would be up because people would be doing things on lunch hours, things like that. We see a dip in the middle of the day. End of the day is clearly where we're seeing the majority of our customers, that 3 to 5 range. So some of the ideas that we're tossing out, and again, I'm not asking for any board action today, just want to continue the conversation. We're considering kind of proposing a couple different options. One would stick with a 5-day work week, 8 hours every day, but identifying, we've kind of honed in on the 8 to 10 as a potential to not be open to the public, to provide that uninterrupted time. Just opening the doors at 10, hold some other utilities, and it's not an uncommon thing. One of the challenges that we face now is staff hours have to align 100% with the hours that we're open. That just doesn't work, especially when you're trying to control overtime. Customer comes in, there's a mad scramble at the beginning of the day, and there's a mad scramble at the end of the day, and it's hard to get all the work in. And that doesn't even leave time for, you've got to fit while you're open and subject to interruptions, any project work, any strategic initiatives. Julie's been very, very active with cross-training and backup positions, internal training to get just to be able to have anybody cover various duties. So, all that stuff has to happen while we're open, which means at any given point, they get stopped what they're doing. So, like I said, we want to make a data-driven decision, but kind of two frameworks we're looking at are proposing, and I do think that this is to change office hours and change things should be board action. I know we've talked about this some, but saying 5 days a week, 8 hours every day, and maybe just opening from 10 to 5 every day, or 10 to 4:30, and giving that, time at the beginning of the day, time at the end of the day. But a schedule like that really doesn't codify schedule flexibility, because at the same time, I want to move towards a half-hour unpaid lunch versus an hour paid lunch. So I don't think it makes, you get conflicting ideas, and you see more traffic at the end of the day, but starting at 8:30 in the morning, I feel like people are more productive in the morning. So there's challenges with the idea of 5 8-hour days. Other thing we've started brainstorming on trying to getting some staff feedback is moving to a 9-hour Monday through Thursday with a 4-hour Friday. And then that provides, and then there's some components of ability to make up some time, and still only being open to the public from 10 to 5, but allowing for a little bit of a window to work some extra time one day to leverage some schedule flexibility throughout the week. But ultimately, that model, I think, has a lot of benefits to it. If you go to, there's a lot of challenges with it. We're just kind of collecting data and getting feedback and working through the follow-up from the feedback. But by moving to a half-day Friday and going to a half-hour unpaid lunch, we can cut out 3 hours of commitment our employees have to make to like power every week. We can give back 156 hours to our employees every year. It's almost 4 weeks of vacation while increasing productivity and making for a more conducive environment to get projects done, to get the work that we need to get done, and ultimately to serve our customers. So again, there's some challenges that we're still working through as far as holidays, PTO, and like I said, that's why we're not asking for any board action today, but wanted to present this, get any initial feedback. I know, Andrew, you did some feedback last month at the initial conversation, but again, wanted to share some customer data, show you, kind of let you know that we're really targeting those first 2 hours of the day as a potential opportunity to minimize disruptions. And there's not as many customers in there, so there's fewer disruptions, but they're still costly. It's still a hindrance to efficiency. And if we can serve our customers better while minimizing the disruption to them, I think we really, and providing a more attractive schedule to our employees, I think we have the opportunity to find a win-win-win situation where our customers win, we win as an organization, and our employees win as well. So happy to take any feedback, questions. Love to hear feedback, questions, anything.
So,
Was there any variation in days of the week of this? Did people not show up for lunch on Fridays or?
So there's more analysis to be done, and it's wildly fascinating.
Okay.
It's very cyclical. With only having one billing cycle, we can go, I wish I knew, I think I saw 8 days, 8 consecutive business days where only one customer came into the building in 8 days. There's just periods. The last week of the month just is a slower week. That's the week that they use now as kind of a catch-up week. But as soon as something happens that week, you fall behind. So it's not really, you're not able to leverage that for strategic gains. But yeah, there's all kinds of interesting trends in there. Days of the week. We did look at Friday afternoon traffic. That became what happens Friday afternoon. If we're going to propose closing our doors, and there is some traffic Friday, but a lot of that's driven by tag day, disconnect day, and if we went to a 4-hour day on a Friday, the Friday would essentially become part of the weekend for collection purposes. We wouldn't tag and we wouldn't disconnect, which initially was kind of concerning to me, but we don't disconnect for 6 months out of the year, and the office staff does an amazing job managing our bad debt, so it's a luxury that we can take advantage of. If we had bad debt numbers or collections were difficult, it'd be very difficult to even propose extending a weekend. Other thing we looked at, and we only looked at due date, is how frequently does the 20th fall on a Friday? Our due date is on the 20th. Happened this month, October 20th will be a Friday. It doesn't happen again until September of next year. So, yeah, there's some other dates that could fall on a Friday that could potentially impact bad debt, but it's really what I would anticipate to be an immaterial impact. The customers that are going to impact our bad debt are going to impact our bad debt, but we may have 3 more days of debt involved there, but the odds are it's not. That's probably not the case, so, but yeah.
Okay, I was just curious if there might be opportunities for, because if you say let's not open till 10, well, that's still like, what, 15% or whatever of your traffic that would normally come in between 8 to 10.
Well, and
But
that's
maybe
also,
every Wednesday or every Tuesday, Thursday, we're open in the morning, but then some lunches were gonna be closed, or some afternoons were gonna, be shut to the public.
it's funny that you brought that, because that's where my brain went, is how do we leverage the cyclical nature throughout the month, or throughout the weekend?
Yeah.
I got the death stare. No, the challenges with that in communicating and educating the
Exactly.
customer were something we felt like could negatively, with schedule change, I think we can get our customers to see the change, get used to the change, and it's a consistent change, and it's one negative interaction. And it would be, we'd have bridge to build. If a customer came beating on the door at 9 o'clock and expected us to be open, the thought is we would communicate it aggressively. It's easier to communicate a set schedule. It's very consistent, every day is the same, which it's not already. But the other piece of that is, I guess what I didn't share is if we went to the 9 days, Monday through Thursday, the 4-hour day on Friday would be open to the public the full 4 hours. So we wanted to retain the ability, at least one day a week, to give an 8 o'clock opportunity if we do have somebody that wants to make a cash payment.
Okay.
The other thing is we discourage right now cash payments to be dropped in the Dropbox, but what we would do if we went to doors closed, we'd open the first door, and then there's an inside Dropbox that drops into where we work. So we could offer up opportunities for cash payments still, and then we got through COVID with, if you need a receipt, call back. So we've thought about a lot of the payments, and really the disruption that we're most concerned with is cash paying customers, because they truly should do most of that in person. And we get a lot of customers that pay with check, and and the amount of customers that walk in, hand the girls a check and say, I don't need a receipt, and they just leave. There's those interactions that count. But one of the things that we talk about is minimizing no impact interactions or potentially slightly negative interactions, and focusing on the positive interactions, or focusing on the high quality interactions, not positive, because high quality could be a negative thing, but something you need to put a little more effort into. So I'm rambling, I guess, but yeah, there's opportunities to hopefully minimize the disruption to the customers that do come in, and the idea is if we can communicate a single schedule, because I actually threw out the idea of what if our schedule changed throughout the week, because when you see 8 days of 0 customers coming in, you see a golden opportunity to do something, but communicating that with the customer is a challenge. Other thing that we want to use some of this focus time for is the opportunity to have all employee meetings. Right now when the schedules align with our office hours, we're closing the office to do anything as a group, and there's a lot of value in getting the whole group together. And we do it regularly. We tested the waters with being closed for a couple hours around lunch. Monday we didn't open till 10 because we had a team breakfast in the morning. And we get, I'm not sure I've ever heard the first negative feedback from one of the times that we shut down for a work event. So we kind of dabbled into it to see what the reception might be, kind of informally, but.
I'm not suggesting you have a different schedule every day or anything, I'm just saying, if you have the data, look at it and see if there's an opportunity to do something.
Different, yeah.
Like have your weekly all hands meeting on the day, the lunch of the day that's the least busy or something, and
That's the other thing, and it also highlights that we have the opportunity to do something at lunch. We see a dip at that lunch period. But yeah, there's a lot of, we've already, Megan and Julie and I have met regularly, and we target, hey, if we need to close the office down for more, that last week of the month is very attractive, because odds are you're not even gonna stop the first customer from coming in.
Mhm.
When, I wanna say it's 8 days consecutively, one customer came in. So,
So, go back, the screen or to.
goals,
What is
or,
it?
go up
Okay, sure.
to this
Right
one,
there.
right here.
So I would like to see, so we got goals, considerations, but I'd also like to see highlighted customers and what the negative is. I know it says minimize impact, but I know I feel like we're, one, looking at our employees, what benefits them. But I also think we need to, what other things can benefit our customers? And when we're talking about that, if you go down now to the next screen, the graph. So I'm looking at, at the biggest time most customers was that 4 o'clock. So my question is, and until you do it, you're not gonna know unless, until it actually happens. Is it beneficial to go to a 4-day, work week, but having pick a day, I don't know which, a Wednesday that you're open till 6, or whatever, that gets that customer traveling. Would we see an uptick in customers coming in at that time?
I guess my initial feedback would be to that is, I don't know for sure, the cost would outweigh the benefit, not from a dollars and cents standpoint, but from an employee morale standpoint, and I feel like we would be catering to a relatively small group of we would be asking our employees to make significant changes to their lives, which are already a challenge with childcare and.
And that's no, so childcare, so you're talking about going to a 9 hours and so what is your proposed time for that 9-hour day?
So I
Because
don't want to throw out a set time.
Because then childcare again
It's
comes
still,
into,
and that's where one of the things that I want, everybody has different needs with childcare, different limitations with childcare. So one of the ideas that we floated is saying our offices, or your hours are between 7:30 in the morning and 5:30. You need to get your 9 hours in. You need to have a half-hour unpaid lunch, and you need to be here, giving a window to get your hours in. So you can shift, because if we move from an hour unpaid lunch to a half-hour unpaid lunch, we need to find a half-hour a day now to get Monday through Thursday to a 9-hour day. And childcare is a challenge. Some people have the ability to drop their kid off at 7, some can't drop off till 7:45, some have to pick up at 5, some can't pick up, or some can,
Before 5.
or before 5. Yeah, 5. Some people have to pick up by 5, some people can wait till 6. So the idea was potentially to say between 7:30 and 5:30, and you're required to be here from 8 to 5. 8 to 5 is an absolute requirement, you have to find an extra half hour each day, either beginning of the day, end of the day, or I'd like to offer up the opportunity to make up, to work a cap of remote work hours. The other thought was you're required to be there from 8 to 5, and then you'll have the opportunity to round out your 40 hours on Friday as well after we close. So this is where we want to try to get some of this flexibility where, if one employee can't be there till, it's tough to get there at 8, but has childcare covered till 6, they can say, hey, be here, I'll work 8 to 5:30. But that 5 to 5:30 doesn't work for the next person. They might be able to shift they might be able to do a 7:45 to 5:15, and it's just trying to create almost, I think the analogy I used was instead of giving you instructions on how to build something, we give you a toolbox and the materials you need to build something. And there are certain limitations, we give you a kit with tools and what you need, and instead of it being a rigid schedule, it's here are your tools. You can flex your schedule a half hour in the morning, half hour in the afternoon. You can make up time on Friday to some limit. There's got to be limits on everything. Or you can work up to 2 hours a week remote to round out your 40. But the idea is to give them tools to manage their time a little bit and provide options and flexibility so that what might work for one person, because what might work for one person doesn't work for the next. And one of the things that we've discussed in our meetings is we don't want to create a schedule that works for our current employee group. We want to create a framework that will have longevity. It just so happens it needs to work for our current group, because if it doesn't work for our current group, then we're not really accomplishing an attractive schedule. So
That was gonna kind of be my next question.
Yeah.
Are we, creating a schedule for the people that we have now? And at some point, this group, they're going to get out of the child rearing
Yeah.
year.
And it really isn't about childcare. It's about, the goals that we're talking about. But we do need to make sure that no matter who's in any of those seats, childcare could be an issue. So again, can we create a framework that works for Julie as a manager long-term to advance the strategic goals of the office and get the day-to-day work done? But again, and that's where I think if you create the framework, if it works for our current group, that's a must. But we regularly think of, will it work for the next? Will it work for the subsequent group and the subsequent and the subsequent? And I think the more we go to a framework structure instead of a rigid schedule structure, we find opportunities. Now, there is some rigidity in the schedule. The thought would be, you are here from 8 to 5. That's your core time to be here, especially if we're going to use 8 to 10 as this time to efficiently get day-to-day tasks done or work on projects. And we can't have people coming in at 8:30 and 9. The idea is not to just create a come and go atmosphere. It's to give a little bit of flexibility in the beginning of the day and a little bit of flexibility at the end of the day, but ultimately the core is there. And I would say, what do we do for the customers? The idea, when we're thinking about the customers, the project-based work is it. Everything we do serves our customers, and that's where the idea has to be, it's a win-win-win. Yeah, it may be a disruption to one individual customer, but I'll go back to the idea of time of use electric rates. There will be individual winners and losers in time of use. Some people's bills will go down, some people's bills will go up, but the overall good to our customers is there. And that's the idea again with the schedules. Yes, it might be a disruption, but we already acknowledge we can't cater to every customer. It's impossible to do.
And nor does any customer come in I don't think you've ever seen all of your customers in your office in 10 years. I don't think Lowell has ever
No.
seen it, all of them.
No.
Come in. So it's not like, it's not a practice that we come in to drop off our bill. It's late night, David drops off in the box. Personally, I feel that we need to figure out what your staff would like to do and you move forward with it, give them the tools to say, and it always changes though, Charlie. And don't think for a minute that we're gonna come up with a golden rule and then 5 years from now, it's gonna work for everybody. And that rules are, it's gonna be it's gonna change. I don't feel that we keep circling back to what does our customers want to do, blah, blah, blah. I feel that I know 806 Lafayette customers, and if I need to talk to you or what have you, I've got a website that I can go to and I can leave a message. As a customer, we need to keep our good workers here, and let's, I don't want to use the word cater, but let's ask them what tools do they want. Blue Cross Blue Shield lets me take Fridays off 6 months out a year. Now, I could do a 32-hour work week, which saves Blue Cross Blue Shield money, or I could do 4 10s, and I still get my Friday off. That's where they're flexible, so it's not one shoe fits all, guys.
And that's where, right now our schedule is one shoe fits all. It will be 8 to 5. And so how do we get, and to your point, the current structure we have doesn't, but if we move to something new, in 5 years it may not work. But I think if it does work, great. Right now we know what we have, there's no movement in it. So it's either black or white. It's black and white, either works for you, it doesn't, where, let's change schedule. We can introduce some gray to accommodate the.
And I feel you don't have to micromanage your people, because I'm at Blue Cross Blue Shield several times where I haven't seen my manager in a couple weeks. A team lead is there sometimes. Everybody's working off-site. So they found that when they're not micromanaging us, we're still banging out the work. We're not standing around drinking coffee or what have you. So you see the paperwork getting pushed through and their work is done. So as far as you feeling that there has to be a manager or some sort of leadership there at all times, no, you don't have to be there at all times.
Well, that's more for customer support. Is it have an escalation? And that's where, it's really for support, not for oversight, I guess.
Believe me, I've dealt with groups that I got over 3,000 or 4,000 people that just lost their coverage and that company didn't pay their bill. And they're pretty yanked and they want to talk to the manager. I settle them down and tell them, you are talking to the gatekeeper, and where have you been? Today is 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Friday, everybody that could help us is gone.
And that's where.
I de-escalate them. I do my job.
I think it'll self-audit themselves to the employees. They know what they have to get done. In the
Yes, yes.
And if you don't, you have to answer to somebody at the end. Why didn't you?
Absolutely. You're still, I'm sorry that you're unhappy. I will have the general manager, Charlie, call you tomorrow. What is the best time to call you?
And I also want to highlight, this is not this is geared to be a win-win solution.
That's what I want.
It's not, hey, let's just cater to the employees, hey, let's just cater to the customers. It's how do we find the center of a Venn diagram that just works for everybody.
Absolutely do.
And I if you do the math, and we're fully transparent on everything. If we take half days on Friday, we save quite a bit of money in reducing the number of holiday hours that we pay out every year. Almost, I think, we're guaranteed 2 holidays on Fridays every year. So if any other holiday falls on a Friday, we actually start paying out less holiday hours. Now, fully transparent, I'm not trying to sneak more hours of work. That was kind of a, hey, what's gonna happen? And Megan ran the analysis and was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Let's make sure, but again, it goes back, let's use data to make the decisions. The other, the thought is, this is a trade-off. What's Friday afternoons worth?
Friday or Monday? Those are the 2 big days. that
In
employees
regard
already have off.
to the chart, I'm a little confused. The blues are the number
So-
of people that came in per hour?
Sorry, the blue was, we also tracked, did people come in to make payments or did they come in for something else?
Yeah,
So everything in blue is customers that came in just to make a payment.
okay.
Everything in orange is all the other stuff.
Come to see you.
Yeah, or most of it's set up a new service, or
Yeah,
I don't
right.
even know what else they come in for.
So really, that many people come in
Right.
at 4 o'clock, over 100?
Well, I also, this is over 5 months.
Oh,
This is
okay.
cumulative data over 5 months.
Gotcha.
This is, so, we're also
Okay, I'm
talking,
thinking that's per hour.
no, we're also talking.
You guys, I suppose you get anything done,
Yeah.
if that many people came in.
So, in this same time frame, 15,000 bills were sent out.
Okay,
So if you really start looking at, if you boil down the customer group that comes in, as a percentage of bills,
Yeah.
in hindsight, it's always 2020. Man, Megan, I wish we would have somehow found a way to mark unique occurrences.
Okay.
Because the other thing is, one customer realistically could be in this, one person could be in this data set 5 times. If there's somebody, Teresa probably is. I think Teresa comes in every month, it's great.
so
Um,
the 4 o'clock, you have 90 people over 5 months came in at 4 o'clock. So
Yeah, between
divide
4 and
by
5.
So it's less than 1 per hour per day. Yeah, because you got 5 months times,
Well, that's only on from 4 to 5.
right, exactly.
So 5 hours a week, over 20
Yeah.
hours. You have about 100 hours.
Yeah, not much,
Or-
not much traffic.
Yeah,
So
no,
really
just,
what he's saying is just had divided that per hour per day.
Right,
And then you can
exactly,
see what the actual,
yeah.
So,
yeah.
couple more questions.
Yeah.
So is this schedule a company-wide schedule or office schedule?
So one of the challenges right now is the only people that are required in the company to take a 1-hour unpaid lunch are the 5 people in the office. So right now, we don't have a schedule that is company-wide. The other thing is, the operations crews that work out of here tend to work 7 to 3:30. So it's already a different schedule.
Okay,
Ryan has had a conversation with him, and we're talking company-wide. The idea would be to offer the structure up company-wide to some extent. But I would also say the union has already negotiated the opportunity to work 410s. They choose not to exercise it. I think they might be more interested in the idea. It's hard to accommodate 2 hours, 4
Right.
days a week. 410s are not easy to accommodate. And I think there's been very little interest. So yes and no is the answers. Right now, we don't have a unified schedule. We wouldn't have a unified schedule, but the same framework. Because we're creating a framework, I think it can be applied across every different employee group in the company and keep everything kind of on par, or actually bring a little bit more parity to the situation by allowing the office staff to only have to take a half-hour unpaid lunch. Again, just those 2.5 hours are like 130 some hours a year. You throw in the half, and I can't do math like Steve.
so
You bring your lunch, it's hard.
So I just- let me know where
You're given a half.
I've already done this, but let the rest of you know where I come from. So on this, I'm moving it down from an hour unpaid to a half hour unpaid. I am not supportive of paying somebody not to work. In other words, I'm not supportive of the city. I'm supportive of them going to a 4-hour work week, but I'll just tell you, my coffee with council, I got nowhere, so and I guess part of it is because, I'm self-employed and when I get paid for working. I don't get paid, nobody's paying me to not work. So again, my philosophy is, I'm good with going to a different schedule, doing different things, but again, also, you have, and I've heard from this, they don't take lunch, they work right through it, so we're paying, well, legally, you don't have to give them lunch?
Michigan does not require any breaks. Employers, I thought the same thing. I
Okay.
corrected myself this week. I looked it up, and that's coming from the Michigan.gov website, so it's not
Okay.
from a law firm or anything, straight from, they have a frequently asked questions, the state of Michigan, there are 0 required break times unless employees are under 18. If you're under 18, you have to have a
That's
documented
news.
30-minute break.
I guess I didn't know
Oh, me too. Hey,
that.
Bert,
I thought you had to.
I did too. We had lots of conversations about the framework under the assumption that we had to provide a lunch.
So-
Which, granted, I'll also say, for us, it's important, I think going away from providing a lunch, because that's been floated, is opportunity. That's one of the things that does not work long-term. You can't create a framework that does not provide at least the opportunity for a lunch. If employees choose to leverage the framework to not take a lunch for their advantage, that's one thing. But I think we have an obligation as an employer, it's still best practice, I would say, that you provide the opportunity. If they don't take advantage of it, then you don't. But, and we took your feedback from last time, and none of our proposals consider a paid lunch. We don't have any framework that does include a paid lunch based on your feedback, and we respect that, obviously.
Those are kind of the only questions that I have.
Another thing I thought I had was you mentioned that, about, like your department heads having, they need a lot of time to kind of train and deal with escalations and all that, but is there any thought to ensuring that they have a break from that part of it?
Part of the idea of closing the doors for a certain period of time is to allow Julie an opportunity to work through some of, be separate. And I would say, there's not much escalation effort. It's really,
Yeah,
I think it's really just, it's Murphy's
it's just
Law.
knowing that you won't get interrupted, right?
Yeah, it's the not, and as far as having a manager, it's guidance. We don't, there's no hard fast rule where I swing the hammer and say, Julie or Megan, you will be here. We try, but more time, and it's just good practice to have, and like I said, it's more about being supportive, it's a supportive role, not an oversight role.
Yep.
Where, Julie does a great job overseeing her staff. The thought is, we've talked about it, the work, we have a small enough group that they police themselves because the work will show deficiencies. And Jim, you just said, the work, things have to get done, so it's really not a, hey, let's make sure people are staying busy. It's if something does come up, and I need to ask a question, I don't have the authority, there's enough one-off situations of, what about this fee, what about this, what about this situation, that having that support and being able to resolve a customer's issue. I don't like to leave anything unresolved on Friday afternoons if possible, and that's where the informal flex time that we have now is leveraged. It's almost always Friday afternoons. That's something we were talking about today, which is why we targeted a Friday afternoon for an alternative schedule or something, as that's when our employees seem to be taking advantage of the opportunity now.
Okay, I guess I just wanted to make sure there was something there that there's, I know I have times when I actually will block out my calendar, set up a meeting with myself, so to speak, right? So that people stop asking me questions. Even though I'm supposed to be supporting them, but, I can't just be open to interruption nonstop.
And that's one of the things that we've actually talked about is if we're gonna go to this, we don't shoot from the hip very often. Julie and I have talked a lot about how is 8 to 10 gonna be used. Not gonna get this cool idea and have this awesome toy and not know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't do any good. It's gotta be intentional. We have to be striving for a goal. And one of those, is what's the environment, what's the work environment we want to create in this window? And we've talked a lot about, Julie will have the ability where she doesn't have to worry about that customer interaction interrupting her. So she now feels more comfortable just closing her door and providing her that focus time. We've talked about setting up alternative workstations so people who sit next to each other can get away. Kind of that idea, and they'll get along.
Get away from that annoying neighbor.
Yeah, in a way, but the idea is to to create a conducive environment, whatever that means for you.
Right, because one person, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead,
They
please.
might want to watch a safety video.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when you're blaring it and you're over here right next to you, trying to concentrate on read something, understand it, comprehend it,
Yep.
it's very difficult. And I don't want to say, oh no, she's watching this video, you're gonna have to be interrupted. That's our point.
Just let
8
her
to 10
do it.
is your time,
We've
you
got-
can do normal work, but sometimes someone else needs to watch the video.
Yep.
So it's very hard when they're sitting right next to each other on their computers, you know, speaker, I mean, it's very hard to not, so we try. But right now, we have to make that person go somewhere else, like you have to go somewhere else. That's
Yeah.
what we do
Well, so that's what I was getting at. I mean, there's times even at work where I've actually gone to a conference room,
Yes,
just because.
but we can't do that now
Yeah.
because she has to answer the phone. Or
Yes,
if
That's
one
what I mean,
person's on
so
the
this
phone,
like 8 to 10 time,
Yeah.
is that, are you also protecting department heads from their own employees, so to speak, giving them some space?
I can't wait to share that with them.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right, because I mean, it's not as big of a staff, I mean, I've had, it's like 20, so sometimes I get a bunch of questions all the time, but I just wanna make sure that 8 to 10 is not, hey, now that's when everyone can go to Julie and start asking her questions because they don't have to worry about a customer being here.
it's
We
exactly
had-
what I said, opposite of that.
I was saying, we had that exact conversation. Well, and part of the idea of being intentional is how do you avoid the consequences that you can see? There's gonna be unintended
Yeah.
consequences, but there are things that, and we have, there are not concerns, but there are things that we've talked about, is how do we create boundaries that don't create huge blocks of time where, how does it
Yeah.
not turn into social hour? You know, what structures and
Mhm.
what environment do we need to create? It's really about creating the atmosphere to do work, and some of those things have been separating people, but it's not social hour. It's not standing around and I'm gonna pester somebody. It's an opportunity to do trainings. It's an opportunity to collaborate, because that's the other piece that we really want to accomplish is finding time to collaborate. It's almost impossible in the office with such a small staff to take two and remove them. Or take Hillary, Hillary's our lead CSR now, which is a fairly recent change. And how does that expanded role grow with an opportunity? Because we have a lot of conversations about how do we bridge the gap between departments? How do we tear down the silos? And a lot of that is collaboration with one person from one department, one person from the other. So, if Hillary's going to tackle administrative processes that involve Ryan's guys or field staff, operational staff, can we get somebody from both departments and get them to collaborate and get them, and again, it's about providing that atmosphere that works for everybody. It's got, and the other thing that has been a priority of mine, I hope Julie and Megan see it, is I don't want this to be a ton of work for them.
Yep.
It's gonna be more, but the idea is we're creating efficiencies for them as well that can be filled with helping manage, and part of their job will be to get the productivity out of the other get it out of them, they want to contribute, but facilitate some of that productivity, so there may be less products that Julie is producing, but the idea is there's more opportunity to manage
Yep.
and grow. And I think that gets to your idea of how do the customers win. If we're able to bridge the gaps between the administrative side and the field side, ultimately customers win.
Yep.
If we're able to improve processes, customers win. If we're able to do things more efficiently, we can stave off another expanded salary or expanded personnel, customers win. There's a lot of disconnected benefits for the customer that we see as an opportunity. And to Tina's point, the attractiveness of work schedule for retaining the team that we have is pretty attractive as well. We've got a really strong office staff, and we have really strong
Yeah.
staff top to bottom across the board.
I heard Peter said.
Yes. So,
The other comment I was gonna make is, we were talking about trying to come up with a universal framework, right, that's not dependent on the current staff, but you might consider maybe it's okay to do one based on the current staff, just have a policy that every year you review it and see if we need to make some changes.
I would hesitate to make annual changes, because I think that really becomes the burden of the customer at that point.
Is it that hard for people to adapt?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, if
unfortunately.
But if you.
I mean, if Keith Harper changed their schedule for Tuesdays for the next year, it'd be like, okay.
I would agree, and,
You know,
and that's where
they could change their schedule every 6 months, I'd say, okay.
the idea, but from a priority standpoint, it working for our current staff is a higher priority than working for some unknown hypothetical future staff, but we at least want to have it in mind.
Yeah.
As an intention, because even our current staff's lives change.
Right, I guess what I'm just saying is don't try so hard to find the perfect system that you never implement a new system. Right.
I like that, that's great feedback, thank you.
And our customers and, what the changes and the times that we're into the office, there's, I have a friend that he can start at 6:30 in the morning. I can't because I'm a different cog to the machine. But you can make provisions or you can make adjustments of who's coming in at 6:30 in the morning to have the quiet time. You know what I'm saying?
So they can watch the video.
So they can watch, or they can watch a video. You know what I'm saying? The customer is seamless. The customer doesn't even, if there's somebody in the office, a customer doesn't care who they're talking to. They want their stuff done. I want to pay my bill, or something simple. Because usually when a customer comes in, you said it's usually 4 things that they want. They want to pay their bill, they want a receipt, they don't want you to shut off their power, or they want to set up to have, what's the paperwork for me, or can I hand in my paperwork to have this set up to my brand new house? There's gotta be, so to the customers, it's gonna be seamless. And there are people in my office that hate coming in the morning, and they love the fact that they come in at 9, some come in at 10. And they have no problem staying until it's dark out because they like sleeping in. So, so there's, in our customers, they don't see it. They don't see a change.
But we've also, like you mentioned earlier, we're trying to minimize unnecessary interactions, and we've seen a big reduction in phone traffic even, just by implementing an auto attendant. We found that we were getting tremendous amounts of phone calls just to hand out a third-party phone number so you can make a payment over the phone. Well, we took, that tended to be a slightly negative interaction. You call to resolve something, and you're told a phone number to make another phone call to resolve what you already made a phone call to resolve. It's somewhat of a negative interaction, and it was unnecessary. So we put an auto attendant in. Now you call, and there's an option to be transferred to make a payment. We've seen a huge reduction in unnecessary interactions. So if we're able to minimize unnecessary interactions, we focus on high quality interactions, and really the customers don't know any different. To your point, they don't know much of anything. And I will say that coming off of COVID, we found out quickly that in-person business is far less necessary than we thought. And I don't know what trends are in payments in person to Dropbox or online, but if you look at what we've implemented over the last couple of years with the new paperless billing and auto pay, that's taken. We had a handful, maybe 100, 150 customers on an old school auto draft ACH. We now have. I don't remember where we're at now. I'd have to look. We have significant amounts.
Almost 50%.
Yeah, I'd say we're up over 1,000 auto pay customers, so that's half the payments we're not taking anymore. We've done what we can to make it conducive to eliminating some of these hours. We've cut out some of the impact of the customer. It wasn't the goal when we did it. It was just the right move, but now in hindsight, we can look back and say we can leverage all the changes that we've made to and kind of leverage them forward into another change that continues to benefit the customer.
Okay, well, make our employees happy. There you go, just for that.
Okay, let's move on.
You want to pull that video, or no, it's my computer, if you will disconnect, please. All right, we're gonna roll on. I'm gonna let Ryan run through some stuff real quick, give an east side feed update. I'll chime in a little bit here and there, but we're gonna start with a cool video. This is TV. We're swapping computers. For some reason, Julie's computer doesn't want to play this video.
Nope,
Mine it works fine.
you're gonna get there you go. Multi-view again.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I thought that Ryan took this really awesome video of the contractors pulling in wire over on the east side feed project, and I'd never seen it. Been in the industry for a couple years. Ryan's been in for far more than me, and seen far more than me, far more than the years. But this was all brand new to me. I thought it was really neat. But about a 2-minute video. Ryan, if you want to take it away, explain what's going on.
So typically with spacer cable wire or Hendrix cable, you install the support cable or the messenger first. Put that all up to sag and
That messenger's that top conductor.
it's clamped in on the clamps on each pole, and then this process starts where you pull all 3 conductors at the same time, and then those little rollers support each of the 3 cables individually, and then the top little roller hangs on the messenger, and they're linked together by a specific length rope, kind of the same length as the separation between the spacers that you put up there to keep it all in check when it's complete. And then these just keep traveling down the messenger, and there it is. The bracket is designed, as you watch that roller come up to that bracket, it will just roll right over the top of it, and it will just keep going. These are set up from one end, like that bucket doesn't ever move, it stays right there, and you just keep deploying these rollers through the whole entire pull process until it gets all the way to the other end. And then you secure the cables at each end, sag them correctly, and then just go through and start putting the spacers on. But this particular method of putting spacer cable wire or installing spacer cable wire is the exact way of doing it. I've done it several different methods. When you work with contractors, sometimes you don't always have all the neat little awesome tools, but these guys right here, this particular crew did it. This is the best way that you could ever possibly do it. There's no better way that they could have done something. This is, I don't know how else to say it, it is the exact way of doing it.
Which is pretty cool. And I'll say the interesting thing that was going over Main Street.
Yep.
Nobody ever.
Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, pulled right over Main, started at
Where's that intersection?
that's Front Street and Jackson.
Jackson Street.
Yeah, Front Street and Jackson, and it goes all the way to Jim's house, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure that those pulleys, whatever you call those things that move along, that holds those 3 wires would actually hang on, because right by my house there's a pole, and I was watching. Every time I went over, I said, oh, that one's gonna fall. And the next one. That's why every 15 feet, maybe they had one, 10 feet, but yeah. It's noisy, but it wasn't bad.
Looks like it works.
It did, yep, I did.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yep,
that
it was a lot of
it's called
fun.
ski looking.
And the guys were really professional, you know, if they had to block your street or make sure, you know, you get out or whatever, that they were real professional young men.
I think they were a really good outfit. You always feel really good when you ask Ryan, hey, you know that guy? He goes, oh yeah, we'll be all right. When you see the crew, Ryan knows everybody in Michigan that does any line work. There's only 14 of them, I think, how many he knows, but.
It is a bummer. Today it sank in a little bit more, I think, over at our safety meeting in Portland, when I was one of only the 3 people in the whole dang room that had over 30 years experience.
You're the only one that had done distribution echo potential grounding.
I never even really thought about it that way, but it's kind of sad, sort of. But, can you go to the map one?
Yeah, I'll say scroll past this.
So how are they pulling the cable?
So it's a rope machine at the other opposite end, hydraulically operated rope machine that has, typically they have around 8,000 feet of rope on them per drum. Usually they're 4 drum rope machines. This one, with this particular setup, you would string 2 ropes through the whole entire job, pull your messenger in with one of them, and then use the second one to pull these cables in. So it's just hydraulically operated. We have a nice little tugger over that we just purchased here not too long ago that's really similar that you could look at, to kind of get the idea of what one looks like. But maybe after the board meeting, I can show you.
It's not your regular twine wire you bale hay with, it's pretty good sized rope.
Yeah, it's probably, typically it's 5/8 Samson line or, I'm drawing a blank now, like a Dyneema, a really high strength wire or rope, synthetic rope.
Yeah,
It's pretty expensive, doesn't stretch, just does a really, really good job.
We zoom out just a touch.
So this map,
Bottom right.
This
Is-
higher.
Yeah, just zoom out just a touch.
make it a little bigger.
Yeah, now if you scroll down just a little bit, try to get,
Can't go. Let's see, maybe I can do this.
right there, work.
Okay.
Stand up and point a few things out. I guess just to start, all these different colors right now are operated from this step down right here at King and Lafayette. One of them that had a major meltdown not too long ago. So all of this work that we're working on, including the other step down out of the library, we'll get to that in a couple years or whatever, but this, all the green is the new line that was just put in by Newkirk. It's fed off of circuit 208, which feeds that step down, and now we can start converting all these customers. So far, we have 6 different transformers in this route that have been energized at that new voltage when Newkirk left. So that's, I think it was like 43 customers that are now converted over to that new line. During that time, when we kind of got delayed because the conductor didn't come in, our crews were working on Monroe, a little bit south of North Street, and then all the way the full length of Monroe, new poles, new conductor. All the customers are transferred over to the new poles, but we still have the old 4160 transformers up there because the new line wasn't there to be able to energize them on the new voltage. So we're gonna have to go back and swap those transformers out, and that's another 5 transformers, and I forget, it was 40 some customers there too, but those are not fed from this new line yet. Currently, right now, our crews are working on Washington on this little short section right here. We strung in, well, we set new poles, we strung in all new wire. The old wire is moved out of the way so that we could put the new wire on the top of the brand new poles and energize it off of the main line. So as we go through and transfer the transformers over to the new poles, we're also going to transfer them over to the new voltage at the same time, so we have less impact on outages on the customers, and it just makes things a lot nicer for them. And then we're going to do the same thing on Jefferson Street. This other color right here, there's a
The red is projects that are, we're calling them satellite projects. Everything in yellow has been started. The red is scheduled for this year, budget pending.
Yep, we should be able to get through them. It's moving along really good. Guys are doing a great job coming up with lots of ideas. We've cleaned things up, moved transformers, repositioned them. There was a transformer in one span of line going down High Street. We eliminated that one and moved it over onto Jefferson, so we'd have it also decreases how many trees you need to trim in the future too when you can do that kind of thing, so it made it pretty nice. And then these other 2 sections, the blue color is futuristic thoughts that we're, a little bit of work, 16 new poles on Washington, a bunch of new spacers on the existing spacer cable, because up Washington starting at North Street, it's already a spacer cable, but its insulation rating doesn't necessarily match the current voltage, so we just use the bigger 46 kV spacers to make that one work. And then we can save the 3-phase spacer cable all the way to Fremont. 16 new poles, 60 new spacers, and that one is all good to go. It's not that big of a deal really, but that'll be like next budget year's items. And then that's a whole another section of line that's converted over to that new voltage. I would say if everything goes really good, next year at this time we could likely be doing work to take that step down transformer out of service and never need it again. That one that's right there, and that's a huge win.
And that's what those 2 blue sections represent, is what it would take. And then the weird symbol at the end of those lines.
Yeah,
That would be single phase step down transformers. Because single phase goes all the way up Washington to the Boy Scout camp and goes all the way out Grindle, out past your house to Fun Street. Those are longer, and if you'll remember back to the risk matrix that kind of guides how we're investing money into these, those are gonna be lesser priorities by the time that comes out of there.
Yeah, so all that work is gonna be pretty awesome. We'll work on those, beyond those step downs later. The reason the one, step down, that single phase one is right at the corner of Grindle and,
Shepherd.
Division, or.
right at the end of Shepherd and Grindle there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we need to keep going with the three-phase up Shepherd Hill because of the well up there, the pump station for the city water. So we'll have to do work to convert all that line up that street, over to the new voltage. But it's fairly short, pretty easy, some new poles, a few new poles, most all the poles up Shepherd are already fairly new, so nothing up that way. It's just I think there's 4 or 5 poles right on that immediate section of Grindle there that we're gonna have to change out and re-insulate with updated equipment, but it's fairly simple, just time consuming. It just takes a while to get all this stuff done, but that's the goals for the next little while here, so we can remove one of them step downs, and then we'll just keep on thinking of other ways of eliminating the one by the library. I mean, now we have this new tie line over there. It's unlimited potential of what we can do.
And one of the ideas of pulling this map together is just to show geographically the impact of this project. It's a really big section of our system, very densely populated section of our system. There are a lot of customers over there. I'd have to look back, but between the 2 step down transformers, it's, I want to say over 20% of our residential customer load, roughly, is sitting right there. So there's 500-600 customers, I believe, between those two. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but this is impactful. This is a really impactful project. It's a lot of smaller projects getting rolled up. Ryan's done an awesome job. All these small projects make planning a challenge, because we want to break it up into manageable pieces so that we can maximize funds in the budget, because you never finish on budget. You're either over budget, you're under budget, and the hope was that we could finish enough projects, small projects under budget, that we turn loose the next one. So always having some of these, what we're calling satellite projects, in the waiting is really important, and being able to very quickly take advantage of that new line that Newkirk brought in there. Next year, the yellow section down at the bottom, the crews dug in conduit to install the underground cable there, so that will truly create the tie line to the circuit south of the river, Circuit 204. But this is a pretty big multi-year project. And the nice thing is it benefits across the board. It's not just a voltage conversion, it's replacing aged out equipment.
And that underground cable I just spoke of, that's like a major component of finishing the whole thing off to where we can actually have a redundant source of supplying power to the people on the east side of the Flat River. I mean, I've been saying this for a long, long time, but that's like the ultimate goal. I mean, I think everyone in here that has to answer for things that we do should feel a sigh of relief when we pull that cable in and get it energized and we have that second source over there. Everybody should be like, that is awesome. I mean, really, we should. I mean, because right now, if something happened to majorly go wrong with the source heading over there, it's not going to be a quick fix. That's the ultimate goal for doing what we're doing.
When we had the flooding in 2013 or so, I think,
It was close.
they got to like within a foot of that library transformer, and they told us that they expect to be a week without power if it gets up to where they have to shut it off, and because they weren't at the time, they weren't sure how the water would go, but now it's but that was like the entire, that whole section. So I was like, that's where I thought it would be nice when there's that secondary.
Yeah, it's super important. Only other thing that I want to highlight, and the idea is we'll do this maybe quarterly, I think it'd be fun to see the progress, but the fact that there's already been 53 polls set, 53 new polls over on that side of and that number's already outdated. Because you gave it to me before last Friday, and I know they said at least one poll last Friday.
Yeah, they did one more, so it's
Yeah.
54.
So it's 54 now. So, but the idea is maybe quarterly, we'll come back in December and provide an update, March, something, whatever that is, but the idea is to build this table
Yeah.
over time to keep, so you all see the impact of ultimately what you guys are approving us to do. And it's just a cool project.
One surprising number is that the number of polls exceeds the number of
Go back
customers.
to the map for a second.
That is strange.
But
Especially on that side. On that side of town, that's very strange.
Yeah, but it's customers
that
then.
particular time, so.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious, how many polls do we have on our
A
system?
bunch of them sitting around.
That's not- that's right.
Do you see the polls out back?
Completely.
If you wanna go to the.
I'm not sure. Our fixed asset book is.
Oh, wow.
I'm just- I was-
System,
So
that's
one
what
thing that I
that's
noticed
a good
is-
question.
Absent on here is like at Grant Street, there's an old rickety line that goes up to Jefferson Street, and that whole section of Jefferson Street from north to basically Fremont is fed by that one that goes up through the backyards on Grant Street, or,
Yeah, this is not meant to be an all-encompassing map.
oh.
This is not a map of our lines. This is, this doesn't have any secondaries. This has major pole routes. That line is fed off the blue, so it will be tackled in that
Oh,
project.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so this is not a GIS map. This is me sitting on Access Kent with Ryan talking in my ear a little bit, or me sending something, say, Ryan, where did I go the wrong line?
That whole north end of Jefferson Street is gonna be,
Ryan's got ideas already.
Yeah, we've got some stuff in the works on ways to do it, because there's a cross lot line that's completely engulfed in trees and some.
That's the one you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah. Ryan and I have stood over there more than once, going, what do we do? What, we need an easement, can we do this? What other options are there? So,
That's amazing.
cool.
So, Ryan, quick question, I had that next table you were showing about the polls and the
Yeah.
customers. You said they changed out like 53 polls. How many polls do we have in the whole system? Any idea?
1,500.
1,500?
Maybe just slightly less than that, because I think that number is, we didn't deduct the ones from the DAC edition removals from that yet, so
Okay.
probably under 1,500.
It'd be neat to see
So
when
it's
it's
like
all said
3%
and
of the polls then? They doing just in this little spot?
yeah. And that doesn't, there's a lot more to be done. Granted, there are a lot of poles that the contractor said. There's a lot, and there's some, that stretch down that road where the contractor says where you end up with more poles. The poles that don't serve directly, have transformers that serve customers. Some of those customers are fed from transformers on coming off of Avery and coming off side streets. They're actually fed, secondary is on the new poles, but it's fed from a transformer on the library step down. I think there's some of that over there. Ryan would know better than me, but that's kind of,
But it's just interesting to think that we've got like half as many polls as customers, almost, right? There's pretty good, 3,000 or 4,000 customers total,
3,000.
3,000. So yeah, like,
That's a
it
pretty,
takes a lot of polls to serve that many people. It's kind of cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
cool. We're gonna roll on to the next one. I wanted to do a short little presentation. Wanted to highlight some internal communication efforts that have really been a very positive thing for the organization. Emily has family obligations and wasn't able to come, so I thought I'd do a very brief presentation. But we pulled together, I asked her just to pull together a sampling of what we're using these for. So every week, Emily pulls together you'll see the types of information. I'll talk through some of the ways that we use this, but I thought this was a really positive thing. It's been very, really useful in trying to keep our employee group stay, connected, informed. If you want to just go ahead and hit play, again, this is just a compilation, give you an idea of what it is. I got the volume down.
You do?
Yes, I got the volume on the TV down, don't worry about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't hear.
But, there'll be anything from wellness program, highlighting our benefits, MERS, update your beneficiary information, just a good way, instead of sending out, and granted, a lot of these are followed up with emails and things, but, they put it on down here during lunch. The guys are sitting around, they watch it, use it to highlight memos that I sent out. This was one for safety policy. But you can just see it's nothing that is, it's really just a team building type thing, information sharing, a lot of really good information comes out. It's an awesome way to highlight good work that we're doing around, positive feedback from customers, fun community events, Mark reading at the library. But this has just been Tony, Lisa, Emily, but it's been an opportunity to just try and keep everybody connected, share good information. Mark made an appearance in the MMEA Currents magazine, Safety Town, all kinds of, a lot of it's highlighting the fun things that we do, but there's a lot of information, letting everybody know what it is that we're doing, where are we at, everything to, not all that exciting, but going through different snippets of safety, good health, health practices. It's something that this one's, I think, 2.5 minutes long. They're usually 3-4 minutes long. They have music to them. I can hear, Perry, you made an appearance. But it's just things like this to share. The guys might not see all that. These are always fun. She's always asking for stuff to fill things in. So it's a lot of fun. It's been a really good internal communication tool. It's Emily's brainchild. She led the charge, came up with the idea, did it. And these are the type of things that, when I see awesome work like this and things that are really bringing the group together, communicating, making us a better utility, these are the type of things that I want to, I think they can use the spare time, or not the spare time, the focus time. She always picks great pictures of me.
Okay, it's okay.
But yeah, what I just asked her is just pull together, and if you weren't designed, I can send this out in a much longer length if you want to read it. But she'll adjust timing. It's really just a slideshow that she pulls together. But it was her idea. I think. I know it came to me.
Yeah, her and I talked about it.
Is that what it was?
It was hard to send out so many messages. I wasn't sure if everyone was reading them, and I wanted to have more fun. I felt like we were not having fun, or I don't know, it just felt like.
It was a chore to read them
Yeah.
instead of wanting to read them.
Or did they read them?
They did.
They did.
They did?
They did. Not you guys.
But they watch these, right?
They watch these.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, so.
So I asked Emily to pull that together a couple months ago. We had busy agendas. I wanted to get it in. I wanted you all to see some of the things that don't typically get discussed at board meetings. We do a lot of, we've gone to more informational sessions away from board trainings a little bit. I think just rebranding to some extent, but we focus a lot on information type sessions, whether it's Ryan's Eastside Feed project. So I just wanted to take and do just a brief moment. I wish Emily could make it, but I know she has some other things that she has to take care of in the evenings. But really pretty awesome product, and it's been great to see. I don't know how long she's been doing that. Probably 6-7 months or so. But yeah, this is a peek under the hood. Some of the stuff that you guys don't get to see very often. So with that,
Only 2 staff members have nicknames? I guess you have to work on that.
but Tony told the Portland crews his name's Mr. Blister. He shows up after the work's done. And Mark called him Blister one day and goes, "Hey, that's Mr. Blister." All right, dive into performance data, or you want to having too much fun?
There's 3 nicknames now.
Yeah.
Let's get these graphs out. Can we put the voice on? I
just shared a sidebar. I had to share my disappointment with Perry earlier this week. I found out that there's a contestant from Lowell on The Voice from my dad, not our resident expert. All right, we'll jump into sales data. Last month was another strong month overall. Again, exceeded the previous, highest selling September in the last 5 years. Same as August, it was a fairly hot month. Interestingly enough, it was not as hot as we thought it was in July and August. Megan and I have been doing some analysis on different sales and where sales are, because if you'll scroll, I'm just going to kind of go quickly through industrial sales, commercial sales, focus a little bit on residential sales. This number, by budget, we're exceeding budget, but it just didn't seem normal that August was hot, July was hot. July was hot, we didn't, we had low sales. So we've seen some of these numbers and started questioning what's causing this. Why, do we have billing errors? Do we have meter errors? Is there something wrong? And we've gone through everything and kind of carved things up every which way. One of the things that we're seeing is lingering effects of COVID, I think. And now we saw this huge spike in residential sales, and then it kind of, and I know you can see it in here. Yeah, if you look at the red July, that was a COVID. You can see COVID sales. That would have been July 2021.
2020 is blue.
2020. That's fiscal year 2020.
Fiscal year though, you're right. So that would have been June 2020. July
2020. No, but and it makes more sense on another graph. I don't even remember where it is. This isn't the one, but we saw a huge spike in residential sales through COVID. I think what we've ultimately been able to determine is it was hot this year, but it wasn't hotter than last year actually. I remember it more, but if you look at average temperatures. Average temperature, we started doing correlation of average temperature to residential sales to see if it's weather driven, or the other thing that we're testing or trying to test is we're seeing growth at the residential level, but is average consumption going down?
I don't think our nighttime temperatures were as high this past.
And that's why we didn't get granular. We looked at average temperature. We really want to look at cooling and heating degree days.
Right.
When you try to weather normalize stuff, and we didn't statistically analyze this to whether, statistically valid weather normalized. We're just kind of trying to see, is there an area we should dive into more? And it really looks to be, if you take out 2020 and 2021 and look at your average July and August, it's a very highly correlated to temperature. You get oddballs with 2020 and 2021, June and July, because your residential consumption was high. But what we're testing against, we're looking at, was it weather, or was it the new homes that are being built are just more efficient, and we're seeing reduction in average consumption. There's average consumption over the last, I don't remember what we looked at, 8-10 years. And July and August is highly correlated to your temperature. It's not that we're seeing averages be reduced, which we thought was a potential. The homes are bigger, but they're newer, they're more efficient. So what's driving some of this? Because if you can see, you can see the blue line there is barely situated right now above the blue line, which was 2020. So for residential sales, we're trending behind the last 3 years. So it's just something that I want to bring to everybody's attention. It's something that we're watching. We really wanted to make sure it wasn't a billing type of error, a meter error, or anything like that. But we've also analyzed losses, looked at losses, and if there's kilowatt hours being consumed by customers that aren't being captured in billing, it'll show up in losses, and we're not seeing significant fluctuations in our loss numbers over the averages. So we're just trying to pinpoint, just make sure that there isn't some underlying unseen cause that's something that's preventable. If it's lost revenue, we don't want to lose it. If it's just customers truly using less because they need to use less, great. That's what it's all about. We're in the business of helping customers save money. So just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, something that we're watching. It's just kind of if you look at the budget, we're trending above in dollar sales. No clue what it is. Julie, you're in tomorrow. So, other than that, I'll scroll through sales data.
So that's the summary of all the residential meters, right?
Yes, this is residential kilowatt hour sales.
So like the voltage conversion, the efficiency we gain from that wouldn't be a cause for this because you're measuring at the meter.
Yeah. Yeah, kilowatt hour used by the customer is a kilowatt hour used by the customer. It doesn't change based on the voltage that we supply.
So it wouldn't reflect any efficiency on our end of getting it to them. That's somewhere, it's kind of somewhere else.
Yeah, that, you capture that in the losses. That's when you reduce your losses when you increase your voltage.
Yep.
Yeah, other than that, we'll scroll through these. One thing I wanted to pause on is, based on the conversation we had last month, we made another change to some of the graphs. And Perry, at the end, you can scroll one more, sorry. We'll get to the end and I'll show you where we have tables and graphs.
Oh, no.
But, or just the tables to go with the graphs. This is somewhat of feedback that I took from Daniel in some conversations we've had. Well, we've talked a lot about days of cash and where do we stack up days of cash. So days of cash is really about unrestricted. As I looked at those cash graphs, the unrestricted cash, or the restricted cash, really isn't necessarily relevant to the board as much. It's customer deposits, which is just money kind of held off to the side. So how relevant is that to our operations? Relatively insignificant. And then our bond reserves, required bond reserves, that typically only changes once a year. So the bottom of that graph, or the top of the graph, I don't remember how it was, that showed the restricted and unrestricted, was very much, some pieces never changed. So what we did was we took out the restricted cash, and we report that in informational items as just a dollar amount, and we show the change from the previous month. So what we have here, and we updated the colors since we're no longer using the colors to represent something. We've layered in all of our investments, and then we layered in what 120 days of where that 120-day cash threshold is from the previous audit. And we can still fine tune that. We may do it based on a forward projection. I'm not sure. I like that. I like the idea of the previous audit. It's a concrete number. But one thing that this does is shows kind of how our cash reserves need to change over time. If we'd have been sitting where we are now back in 2020, we would have we'd have over $1 million, or no, over $500,000 above that 120-day threshold. Because we're sitting just short of 3 million. Threshold was just short of 2.5 million from.
I mean now.
So over time, so it kind of gets rid of that static nature of where our goal is.
Yeah.
Our goal is not static. It very much changes every year and will increase every year. So the idea of including that was it shows, it shows, that's a small impact. When we started talking about our cash and cash management was in here, when all of a sudden that delta grew significantly. And you can also month to month see the progress that we're making and start to benchmark against that 120 days. So the goal is to help keep the board a little more informed of where we are to that threshold. Daniel had asked for it a couple times, and I got a kid the day I reported on it. Bad timing.
I didn't.
I know.
Was there?
I was there. Never mind. Pretty good. So why weren't you here?
1 for 1? 2 for 2?
But that graph, and the nice thing is the graph, we picked the month to change when we saw a huge growth in cash, so I'll highlight that briefly. Oh, you're fine. We did see a actual substance of the graph. We saw a significant increase in cash growth this month, which is to be expected this time of year.
So you're saying, don't show this when there's that big gap, wait till you.
No, yeah,
wait till you pass the line.
So what I didn't tell you is we've had this idea since July of 22. No, this really came out of the conversation from last month. And then under supplemental information, under the we'll get to it at the end, there's the actual tables that show all the balances. So there's more information being presented as well, depending on if you want it in a graph form or just a table form. But I saw a lot of value in this, and operationally, we will use this graph. This will be something that I very closely review every month, because now I'm getting more than what I can get from just a table.
Yeah.
Graphically, I think there's some value in the graphic representation of this data.
That was a very cool piece of data that added.
Aging analysis is, a lot of stuff the same. If there's any questions on the performance data, happy to answer them, but very similar graphs. Yeah, auto pay, we're just over 1,000 too. So about a little over a third of our customers are on auto pay. And with that, I will hand it over to Ryan for the outage report.
Somewhat of a busy month.
Yeah,
There was a few outages. Had some defective equipment, bad connections. We had a tree trimmer, tipped some trees over in the Fun Street area and caused an outage. Ruined a transformer. Not a great thing there, given that it was tree trimmer caused. Squirrel.
If one of our tree trimmers or somebody else?
No,
Okay.
private owner hired a tree trimmer to do some work, and what they did tipped over into some of our stuff and ripped it off the house and the pole and stuff like that. Not the greatest thing to have happen, but
What happened,
So
so,
one of those made for YouTube type things.
yep.
Hold my beer, watch this.
so what happens with that? Does
We said
Does-
it was
they get billed?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be getting billed, yes.
Absolutely.
We kind of expect to have the transformer on that bill as well, because transformers aren't cheap and they're not easy to get, so that's gonna be on there.
No, I talked to Megan, we will charge replacement costs of the transformer.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah, squirrel out on 36th Street, pretty common thing. Kind of a bummer that happened, but the pole is squirrel guarded and shouldn't have a repeat offender at that location. Kind of a strange one at 1250 Bowes. That's right in front of the Ronda Tire operation there. There's not really any trees anywhere near there, but there was a small branch that fell off of a tree somewhere around there and flew over onto the top of the transformers and shorted out just in the exact right spot, and that's what caused that outage. Kind of crazy.
Is that the one that the kid called in?
No,
Nope.
no, that one, we didn't really log that in as an outage because they weren't off.
They didn't go out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there was just arcing. I still had power, but it was arcing.
Yeah.
Couple other smaller little issues. Alden Nash, I think, was a tree. North Hudson, honestly, I don't actually remember. It was some kind of a piece of equipment. I think it was a bad connection up there, bad secondary connection. Overall, though, not really too bad. Seems busy, like a busy month, but I guess go back to the top with the 1200 and 1300 block of Highland Hill. With that being a defective cutout, another outage that was caused by porcelain cutouts. We have since went around and kind of counted up what we have left out on the system of the old porcelain style cutouts. It's close to 600 of those. We're going to take steps to purchase quite a few more of them in our material purchases in the next couple times that we purchase material next budget year, and try to really get after a lot of these old porcelain cutouts to try to save outages. It's not like we're getting hit with multiple ones every week, but I think it's just the right thing to do. Plus we can do some fuse coordination at the same time and change these cutouts, so we're going to make it a positive thing for ourselves and just try to get them taken care of proactively.
It's a good use of the data that we have. We know that the top two reasons of outages are squirrels and trees. We're taking measures to proactively tree trim, taking measures to squirrel guard, critter guard poles. We've not proactively critter guarded much because it's not cost effective, but this is one that is cost effective and makes sense to do. It's expensive, and we'll, like Ryan said, we'll carve out some plans. We need to look at, how many do we want to do in a year? Do we want to spread that over a couple of years? There's not really a work plan, but it's a great target, and it's a great use of the data to help guide where investments should be for reliability's sake. And I commend Ryan for managing that situation.
Also, along with that, the cutout situation, when Newkirk was doing the work for us on that project, one of the older cutouts that they were taking out of service to transfer the customers over to a new pole actually fell apart on them. No damages or anything like that, but and there was 2 or 3 others that they noticed that were breaking pretty good. And they didn't fall apart on them, but they just noticed that they were cracking up. So this is something that we're gonna really wanna look at and get them taken care of over the next few years, and we won't have that problem. But I guess that is the outage report, unless anyone has any questions.
What if we replace them with it, it's not porcelain?
Polymer style cutout. Right now with the metal parts on the top side and the bottom side of the porcelain tube are like, they're glued in with I'm sure everyone's familiar with the JB weld material. It's that type of an epoxy that glues the metal into the tube of this porcelain. And over time, with our climate of moist, then frozen, moist, then frozen, warm, then frozen, all that really takes a toll. It gets that moisture down in that tight little area, and then it just starts to break it apart, just like it does our roads, It just kills them after a certain amount of time. Some brands and some styles break apart a lot quicker, but they're pretty much all doing it in the cold climate areas. So we'll just move over to the polymer ones and eliminate that. I have not seen a polymer cutout fail yet because of that type of a reason.
Question, and it has nothing to do, it has outages, but its question is about today's. So, how many phone calls did you get that people were without power?
100 at least.
I would say probably 100.
I think there was roughly 300 customers out, Ryan, do you know? I don't remember.
292.
292, roughly 300. I bet we heard from a third to half of them.
Okay, so how many do we still have that are not on AMI meters? Are we down to 7?
None of them are in that area though.
Okay, so my point being is, I feel like when you're talking about efficiencies and the office is having to take all these calls of people, we don't have power, everything is, we need to get the word out again that if you're on the AMI meter, it automatically.
So I have a slightly different opinion
Okay.
of that. It's not, technology's great until it doesn't work. The calls that we took today are us serving the customers, and they're all 100% necessary. Every customer had a need in that moment, and to them, that was the need. I don't ever want to discourage customers from calling to report an outage, because as soon as you discourage the wrong customer, because our AMI system is not perfect. We find that out anytime there's a widespread storm. It relies on the mesh network of itself to communicate across meters, across relays, and especially in the farther out areas, you can miss outages. You can, the AMI system cannot see an outage potentially, or it cannot report. We've had issues where the emails don't go out, and if an AMI system reports the outage and there's something wrong with our email server and the guys don't get the email that says this customer's out, if that customer thinks they have done their duty by not calling, they could potentially sit without power unnecessarily. So I would say, and this goes back to what's a high quality interaction, what's an unnecessary interaction, how do you, and I would say that every customer that called today, that was their priority. And when you have a need, I think we need to be available. So if we do try to curb the phone calls by saying, Emily immediately got something on Facebook, and we're directing customers to go to Facebook. But through their calls, we're able to direct them and use Facebook where it's a human interaction. When it's, you rely exclusively on one piece of technology to talk to another piece of technology, to ultimately talk to a person. Now you've got two people or multiple technology-based processes away from making sure communication happens. And I would hate to have somebody sit in the dark because we didn't know and they thought the AMI system would work. So I think we have to be available for as many phone calls as possible in the events like this. And it also highlights, if we can provide some focus time to do other work, it makes this a less significant disruption. So it's a shift in making sure that we can give the attention when the attention is due. So I know it's a little different, and I think Steve and I had different opinions even. I think Steve had a little bit more faith in the technology. I don't know what was said to the board, and there's nothing wrong, it's great technology. But if a person calls a person, I know the message will be received.
And we talked that if something like this happened, we would turn the phones on, not just gonna sit there and let them go to answering.
Yes.
Yeah, good point.
Sometimes it guides you right to where the problem is too, with what the caller might say when they call in. Because
Right.
like, one of the outages out there, well, the one that I described with the squirrel hit out on 36 in Pratt Lake, the customer called in and said he heard 2 big booms right nearby. I mean, that's a pretty evident sign that fuses blew, and just, it's a good tool.
Okay.
So like that, you talked about there's a arcing some kid called in about, or like, is that something that the AMI would pick up, or is that?
Nope.
So that's another good one, right? That,
Oh, yep.
Yeah, there's no outage there. The meter
Right.
never saw anything. The system saw the arcing as load, basically.
yeah.
And it's just another,
A kid called it.
yeah, a kid was filming hoping that he'd get to record a big explosion.
You guys turn the power up, I'm waiting for.
I think he might have waited a little bit to call it in, hoping that he got a cool YouTube video, but he called it in, which was awesome. I mean, it really was cool. It was a kid that called it in, and I think he called the police department, fire department, I don't.
What was it, a branch
Like,
across
like
the
a big-
lines?
No, it was a loose connection.
So
Oh, I
those guys,
thought
they're
they were,
But that, our AMI could theoretically get to the point where we could auto send out, we know you are without power text messages. I got one from Comcast.
I would like that,
Shortly
that
after
is,
we lost power, it's like, we realized that there's no internet there, we've taken steps to figure it out. So then you could, if we got to that point, you could treat customers and say, hey, if you don't get this text message, that's when you absolutely should call. Because we might
yes,
not know.
and that's where I want to get to, is that proactive communication, because it provides people who don't live here just information. It's just good, you know, if you're in Florida and you see a storm come through,
Yeah.
people call, hey, can you go check to make sure I have power, can you do this, can you check on this, whatever. You do that, it's, oh yeah, they know, I don't have power. So yes, I would like to get to that point. It's not currently on the radar from an implementation plan.
Is there a version of software for the AMI to be able to handle that?
That would probably come through a third-party
Third-party,
integration.
yeah.
It would probably come through our GIS software more than anything. And some sort of outage management. It probably, GIS, the outage management software, the outage management software would probably handle that. But yes, that's something that is fairly standard practice. Interesting thing for us is we don't have OMS because, you know, we saw the biggest storm Ryan's time here, and they officially went through and they have system knowledge that people manage the outages. You have a bigger footprint, it becomes more necessary to leverage technology, and we're moving in that direction. Ryan and our recently started having regular conversations on getting GIS back on the radar and really implemented. We're at a point in our workload that we can tackle that. So that's kind of the first step, and then you progress from there.
With these AMI meters with the weaker connection, I mean, how do you guys deal with that? I mean,
They work.
It's not
They
a weaker
work.
connection, what it does is, like, look, I guess a good way to do. So, you know, out in the country, up 36th Street in Pratt Lake area, that's a lengthy, long, single-phase area. The customers are spread way out, and it's a really long area, and the meters aren't really super concentrated. So if the fuse at the corner of 28th and Pratt Lake goes out, that whole entire length of Pratt Lake and 36 and everything for a mile, almost 2 miles long goes dead. So the meter at the very end can only jump about 600 feet to the next guy. And if every one of them are dead, all of them can't report in. I mean,
You leverage the power of other meters to hot data.
there's actually 50-some customers on that fuse, but only sometimes 28 email outages come through, sometimes it's 32, it just depends, but we know that there's that many out beyond that fuse, so we always log it in as 50-some customers, but that's the issue with the mesh network when it's not concentrated in town. Once that whole tap goes down, they just can't report anywhere. It's just something that we know happens and we deal with it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your data flow from meter to meter does not follow the same path as the lines.
No.
So one meter could be fed from this way, and two lines come, they could be 400 feet apart, but be two dead ends. And this meter may hop over here and hop back, so if all of a sudden you lose this other tap, you break a link. The customer on the end could have power, could not have power. We don't know because their path back has been disrupted. So we know there's an outage, but do we know if it's one outage? Do we know if it's two outages? There's opportunities, and 99% of the time, it's irrelevant, but when it is relevant, it's usually in a major event where you run the risk of the bigger mishaps.
A lot of the hops are not available.
Yes. Yeah, the bigger event, more widespread you have, especially at the last event where there was a lot of small outages. There was a lot of, it wasn't, hey, we have, a tree that took down 4 poles and we're gonna be working here for the next 12 hours. It's we're here for an hour, here for an hour, and here for an hour. And the tree came down here and so that path can be disrupted. So it's a great system, but it's not the end-all be-all reporting tool. Cool, managers, that's the outage report. Go on to income statement, a couple things I'll highlight here. Sales are, again, tracking behind a little bit, and if you look at the full income statement, it's in the commercial, the small and medium-sized commercial that's really falling behind more. But overall, we're watching it. Purchase power expenses are still, purchase power expenses have started to come in under budget. First time in a long time I've been able to report that purchase power expenses have been under budget. So ultimately you go to the bottom line and we have another healthy net income. Purchase power last month drove a lot. We were significantly under budget last month. Megan and I were watching very closely. Our bill for October is already more than our bill for last month. So it's kind of an anomaly, but we had a lot of, we're not paying for coal and fuel for outages because there's a lag. So this past month was just a good month from a purchase power standpoint, and timing worked out really well where, we were paying for replacement, we're paying for bilateral replacement power, but not paying for coal, so there's a little bit of a trade-off where a lot of times the timing issues can make certain months very concentrated in expenses because you can be paying for fuel from 2 months ago and higher priced market bilateral purchases. So again, we're currently year to date about $460,000 to the good on net income, which is significantly better than we were this time last year, sitting at $41,000 in positive net income last year. That number won't stay the same. We tend to have negative, and are actually budgeting for net incomes, I believe, the next 3 months. And there's just natural with timing and sales and purchase power that you see some months where you just plan for a negative net income month. So that number will erode some, but we're sitting in a really good position at this point. And that's that. I'll touch on a few more details when we get to the informational items. There's a couple things I want to highlight.
We lost a few commercial customers last month. On that
You know, where you have the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
went from 442 down to 439.
That does not surprise me. Those are small commercials, so that's everything from every business downtown, basically. Rio Plano, they shut down.
Things like that, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like-
things like that,
Yeah.
they don't reach demand. So you get a lot of, I won't say a lot of turnover, but you're
minus a
gonna
couple.
get that. You know, how many people turned off service and started service this month, or, there's different factors that could skew things inside of those. Capital projects, you'll see a lot of growth, I guess, in the voltage conversion projects. Starting to see some dollars hit in the voltage conversion projects. Capital equipment, we've had some transformers come in. So it's just starting to see a little bit of movement on some of the capital projects. Obviously, the east side stuff is the bulk of our focus, but you know, there are other smaller projects. Casey's working on some IT projects, facility projects. Those are all starting to ramp up, but the bulk of the work has been focused on those voltage conversion projects. And then we've got the capital equipment from transformers that came in. Moving on to the manager's report. Anything else to say about MMEA? We had a great time in Marquette last month. Ryan, Julie, myself, Casey, we all made the trip to the MMEA conference. Had a really good couple days up there. MMEA always does a really good job pulling together speakers. Had some very knowledgeable speakers on some of the ones I thought were very interesting is preventing buyouts, and what's the likelihood of us seeing rolling blackouts? Two really good presentations. I wish there was a golden answer on how to prevent buyouts and how to prevent rolling blackouts, but they stopped just short of that. One of the things I thought was interesting from the posturing to prevent buyouts is the person that did the presentation came out of like an Iowa, it was a Missouri River Valley area. I think they had utilities in Iowa, Minnesota, some of those kind of that area, not Missouri. But he'd been firsthand involved in quite a few buyouts, and they had a lot of targeted buyouts in there was a joint action agency within their members, and he kind of presented 5 or 6 things to utilities can do to posture yourself against the buyout. And every single one of them, we can wholeheartedly put checks next to it. Things like competitive rates, reliability, community involvement. You know, there's things that, and I don't remember the details, but we talked about it as well. You listen to the presentation, it's like, all right, everything that he's saying we should do, we are. And it's not that have this threat of buyout, but good utilities also don't get bought out. So typically, so it's a good barometer to help make sure you're keeping the utility in a good position. Other than that, MMEA staying very busy with new EWR language and clean energy legislation. The legislature is moving hot and heavy at the guidance of the governor to have quite a bit of legislation wrapped up by the end of this session. And there's thoughts that the session is going to be a much shorter session because the Democrats run the risk of losing a majority in the House with November elections. 2 Democrats in the House are running for mayor of their local municipalities. If those 2 seats are lost, the Democrats will lose their majority in the House. So there's a lot of push to get some legislation passed through while Democrats have the majority. They're pushing hard for municipals to be included in EWR requirements and expanding EWR requirements from 1% beyond. They originally started at 2%, are now back to 1.5%, and that's concerning to us. Those numbers are really tough to attain, and we're very proactive. And then there's actually just got new language for a draft clean energy bill as well. Legislature's trying to push towards some plan for accelerated deployment of renewables. There's some big challenges with the way that the legislature is proposing to make the changes, and we're voicing our concerns that there has to be a balance between environmental stewardship and reliability and affordability. You have to, it's a three-legged stool without any, and that was an analogy that was actually used at I thought it was a really good analogy used at the conference, but you know, affordability, reliability, and environmental stewardship are a three-legged stool. You take in, you make one leg too long or one leg too short, and the whole thing runs the risk of toppling. And we're seeing that, we're already seeing it with reliability, we're seeing it with affordability as well. With the, you know, you all approved a PPA amendment that included a 45% price increase. You know, affordability is a challenge right now, reliability is a challenge, and we're not by any means opposed to expediting the deployment of renewables. I say we as an industry, as an organization, as MMEA, MPPA, but if the legislature is not careful of unintended consequences and taking their time in doing this, we run the risk of really disrupting that three-legged stool. So we're trying to work through it, but it is the pace with which they are trying to push some of this legislation is concerning. They've got draft language today and potentially a vote in committee tomorrow. That's not enough time. So appreciate what they're doing. Just hope that they continue to receive and process the feedback that the industry is providing, because we need to balance all the needs of the customers. So that's been a big issue at MMEA. Ryan and Casey both provided respective updates for distribution and generation, and they stay busy. I'm going to jump right to IIJA. We've been waiting for months for the application for the 40101D grants, which are the state administered resiliency grants. We just got an application Monday.
I think it was Monday, today's Tuesday.
Or no, it was Friday, it was last week. It was last week, I think. But it's just coming out. Looks like the application deadline is middle of November. We're going to participate in a joint submission through NMEA. It will help minimize the cost. But the state really, I want to thank Ryan and Casey both, because I think they had tremendous impact on the application of the 40101D grants. When the state asked us for feedback, the municipal utilities in particular, Ryan and Casey got their heads together and said we need to focus on how do we educate the benefits of voltage conversion, and it encompasses a lot of the things that they were wanting to get done. When we saw the actual grant guidelines, there's very much an open door to replacing aging infrastructure and all the things that we were telling them. They're saying, hey, you can do pole replacement. Well, pole replacement doesn't capture what we're really doing, because at the same time we're changing out an old pole, we're converting the voltage and we're replacing the transformer. And now you got pole, Ryan, you heard Ryan talk, we're replacing conductors. They're talking about piecing it together, but I don't know how impactful it was, but the state really took feedback from the municipals and baked it into the grant application. And a large chunk of the grant pool has been allocated to small load serving entities, which are everybody but consumers and DTE. So it's all 40 municipals and the co-ops, and then a couple of small IOUs. I think there's UPCO and maybe one other, but there's a lot of people in that pool for half the money, but for still half of all funds are available to not DTE and not consumers. So we think it's the best. We think this specific grant is the best opportunity for us to get some funds through the IIJA, but even that, there's a lot of focus on Justice 40 communities, disadvantaged communities. So They've made it as streamlined as possible, but there's still no guarantees, and some of the grading or scoring criteria leans on social type of topics that we just don't naturally qualify for. Customer survey. Will you put that other tab up, Julie?
Yes. Survey says,
We got top award for the customer survey. The APPA puts out, it's a gold award, which, you know, at the RP3, the top award's diamond, and gold is less than top, but gold is the top of the award categories, and across all, you know, I presented all the different number, you know, ranked from 1 to 10, and the way that scoring ended up, it needed to be the average of all of them had to be 95% positive or more. We don't know how many utilities participated. We don't know how many utilities got gold, but for this to be the benchmarking year and be the first year we've done it, I thought it was great to receive the top award that they hand out. We kind of expected it a little bit. I did. I know that across the board, our customers appreciate us, and it's been earned by the employees of Light and Power and the board. But you never quite know where it's going to stack up, and I think this was interesting because you saw the questions last month. It captured reliability, operations, captured customer service, programs. Really tries to be an all-encompassing survey of general customer satisfaction, not just, you know, do you like talking to the person here? Do you like the outage stuff? You know, reliability. It tries to weight it across the board. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
bravo.
RP3 application has been submitted. That's the update on that one. We'll move on. We did our energy saving trees event last month. It was a ton of fun. Thanks, Perry. Perry was our official welcoming party. But no, everything went really well. It was a lot of fun to see trees sticking out of windows and sunroofs and everything else riding through town. But
We were highlighted in the Currents magazine.
I don't want to say I want to get to all that. No, you're fine. I'm going to get to all that.
Okay.
It was
Sorry.
feedback I've got.
Busted his hole.
Feedback that I've gotten from people is they were surprised at the size of the trees.
Yeah.
They thought they were getting a little seedling.
Yeah.
Well, there's one lady that showed up walking her dog. Perry and I were out there and was like, she immediately goes, I think I brought the wrong vehicle.
For dog.
Yeah, the dog. But then she went back and was like, I just got a wheelbarrow, and then I decided I was just going to drive after I saw the trees. I got a pin oak. It was a 12-foot tall tree. They're tall. I hope it survives. I keep watering it.
Yep.
But it seemed, I don't know, Perry, you were there. I mean, seemed to be very well received.
I think we learned a lot. I mean, when you say greeter, I was just outside directing them where to go. And I think
Like a fire.
we can certainly reduce the amount of time. I mean, you know, Saturdays are precious for everybody, and Lisa and the guys, they had it so well organized that there was no, I mean, people didn't even have to get out of their car, drive in, and they had tags, what kind of tree they got. The guys would load them up, and I think we can certainly reduce the amount of time.
Yeah, Lisa has a follow-up with Arbor Day. We're hoping that we can do it again. We kind of, they lowered their limit for us because we wanted to do it. We're hoping that we do it. They're on board with continuing to do it. I don't think it'll be sustainable on an annual basis forever, obviously. At some point, you take a couple years off and bring it back or something. But
Right.
I think there's enough. I think we learned enough that we should try it at least one more year because we've learned
So
tree varieties and.
My question would be, what was the cost?
$5,000. The whole thing.
Again, that's where if we can't do it, yeah, I think there's where we should ask for help from the harbor board.
Yeah, and I would talk, we've got some stuff to talk about as far as harbor board, and I didn't know it's on your radar, but yeah, I would like to look at it. Right now, we kind of can take our data from this and see how many customers are, the big problem is our footprint doesn't align with the city's footprint, so we didn't know how, without any data, didn't want to go to the harbor board and say, well, this might be 75% out outside city limits. With some data, I think there's an opportunity to say where, maybe not on the whole program, so I could understand the harbor board saying, some of these people aren't residents of Lowell, so we can't spend harbor money or harbor board money for this. But I think there's an opportunity to partner with the harbor board and figure out how we can make it best for everybody.
And I also think, we talked about it, if we get the chance that even if we apply and don't accept the money if we don't get in, but I think it's where we should go to the cable TV fund or whatever and look at purchasing water bags with them.
That would probably have to be done by the first Friday in February if you're going to apply for the grant. That's probably when it will be due, as I sit on that board. So
All right.
just
I may
let
touch
me know.
base with you, because as long as we can for sure do it next year, we can get a commitment from Arbor Day. I hate to apply for money and then the program fall apart, but I think there's no reason we shouldn't be able to figure that out
Do we not have an arbor board meeting coming up, Barry? I thought we were supposed to have one this month, but
I have no
I
idea.
haven't seen an agenda, so I couldn't tell you.
What was the most popular tree?
The maple, undoubtedly the maple, October Glory maple. The trees that went the fastest had the prettiest pictures. I mean, it was the Eastern Redbud.
Yeah.
It was the October Glory, maple, and the crab apple.
Pin oak.
There's the pin oak was the least popular, and the river birch was the next least popular. That's one of the things we learned is, I like the pin oak myself, so I felt like it was the most in line with the program. Big, tall, but everybody's got different things, and most importantly, we wanted the trees to be planted and planted wisely.
Right.
And I think that we hopefully accomplish that. I know there's a couple customer interactions that were good interactions that we had less than favorable interactions in the past over right-of-way clearing. And the program went a long way to, I think, bridge the gap with some of those customers. People are very much attached and connected to their trees, and they elicit strong emotions. So we we'll respect that. We like trees, we just don't want them on the power lines.
Right.
So, moving on, Public Power Week was last week. What an awesome week. Every year we do team gifts as an appreciation. Every year we include board. So, I have white power blankets for everybody that was not able to make it. I have 4. I'm hoping there's 4 left. I know you.
My wife's already used it on the couch.
Perfect. Good.
Oh, nice.
Good. The boss is in
We'll
charge.
take pictures too, if anyone's using it on their couch. I'll take those.
But Public Power Week was a ton of fun. We wrapped up yesterday with a big team breakfast. All the guys cooked biscuits and gravy and hash browns, bacon. It was a big breakfast. They did an awesome job. It was a lot of fun.
Very good.
Last week we did road cleanup and had people in the office doing giveaways all week and the coloring contests and yeah, it was it's always a lot of fun. So and good excuse to get everybody together, and really need to thank Greg Canfield for our Thursday evening event. Friday before Public Power Week, Lisa sent an email that said, hey, the venue that we were going to do our Thursday night dinner, we have challenges and need to find a new location. Our leadership team meeting Monday, Ryan had an awesome idea, calling Greg, see if he might be able to help us out, and 15 minutes later, we were checking out the Spring Grove building and had a key in the hand. Greg is, couldn't ask for a more committed person in town, so, but yeah, worked out awesome. It was a great place to,
That was
It
great that
was.
he
Yeah.
offered that,
Yeah.
that's great.
they-
So perfect.
Yeah.
And
It was a lot of fun.
As many people had showed up for that meeting, that party,
Yeah.
they'd still be in business.
Wow.
He had over 40 people there, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
50, yeah,
Yeah.
so
We did.
it was nice.
We gotta get
No.
a breakfast
Real nice.
place.
No?
You have to have.
Never mind.
All right.
Moving on.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Quickly, one thing I want to bring up about the audit, outside of what Peter said is, did have a conversation with Peter regarding a de minimis benefits policy, and we'll be presenting that to the board, and it's really just, public entities have different thresholds they have to meet to provide really small things like a Coke. And he said, based on the Michigan Department of Treasury's guidelines, it'd probably be something worth considering. I'm working with our legal counsel right now to craft a policy and get it in place, but I would anticipate presenting something to the board next month and asking for a vote on a de minimis benefit policy. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. It's really fairly insignificant. It allows,
de minimis.
I mean, exactly. I mean, by nature, the idea is giving us, management, the ability to give benefits that aren't significant enough.
That don't amount to.
Yeah, they're insignificant, de minimis. So, but just be expecting that. It's not, I don't want to catch anybody off guard with a policy decision. I try to update the board and give a little preamble if there's going to be a policy discussion, but that was pretty much just crafting a policy, taking accounting guidelines and crafting a policy that the attorneys can feel good with. So excited for a couple other announcements. We are getting ready to kick off a business to customer payment program. And it basically came out of these super large class action lawsuits where some company has to administer $20 million to be distributed across 10 million people. And how do you get 10 million people $2 or something, you know, that type of thing. But it's, we're targeting it for our deposit refund checks. So when a customer finishes their service up and we're holding the deposit, we have to go through the full billing process, go through the whole next billing cycle, and then eventually issue a paper check back to them if there's a balance. This program would allow for ACHs. They could pick gift cards, small dollar amounts.
What's an ACH?
What's it?
What is it?
ACH,
Automated clearinghouse.
I honestly, I can't think what I said. It's
Okay.
where the money goes right into your bank.
Yeah.
You give us your bank account, but yeah, direct deposit for your deposit check. But the process, sorry, go ahead.
Which this is renters only, right? Because we don't
Yeah.
require a deposit from,
Yeah, just renters only. Yeah, if you're a homeowner, you don't have to, but we probably, I don't remember, I have the numbers. We cut like 30 a month, paper checks, mail them, reissue them. And the best part of this this program is every single transaction costs less than postage. Costs a penny, I believe, per transaction to do it through a gift card, and maybe 25 cents to do an ACH. Literally can't write a check and get it in the mail for cheaper than this. And that doesn't involve the follow-up, the amount of times you reissue a check, void a check, send it to the state for unclaimed property. It's just, deposit refunds are a wildly administratively burdensome process. This is it was something that Huntington Bank offers. Megan's kind of taking the charge on it, but it's just an interesting program. You want it in your bank account, you can get it in your bank account. If it's $9.12 and just want it on a Starbucks gift card, fine. But the odds of that $9 check getting cashed, I don't know, our threshold's 5, right?
yes.
5, yeah, I'll say, I think we're checks, but small 5, but you realistically have a $7, $8 check. And it's sitting on somebody's counter for who knows how long. They're calling, can you please cash it? Nope, don't care, I lost it, can you reissue it?
No.
Just give you a dang Starbucks gift card or Target gift card or something. I guarantee you. So it's a neat program. Next Wednesday, we're hosting the Chamber of Commerce Rise and Shine Breakfast.
Yeah, November, should be October.
Hey,
Oh,
every month.
Okay.
I'm on the wrong.
I wouldn't put on a calendar, November 18th is a Saturday.
Yeah.
I
Terrible.
go back and look at it, and it said
Nope.
Wednesday, so it must be October.
Yep, wrong one, sorry. Next Wednesday, a week from now, a week from tomorrow. Rise and Shine Breakfast Club. Love for anybody that can attend to attend. Craig, I know you attend a lot of those naturally anyways. But something that we wanted to have put on the radar, put it on like 6-8 months ago. We're gonna do it out in the energy center and the generation facility. But it'll be next Wednesday, starting at 7:30. We'll do a short little presentation, but really more than anything, it's just gonna be opening the door, showing off what we have, let the chamber do their thing, and do it in a cooler location than most people do it in. So, but love to have everybody out if you can. Cherry Creek field trips are this Friday. Got the month right on that one. That is in October. I wanted to provide a short update on the August storm costs. Biggest storm we've had in quite some time. Ended up costing about $30,000 in restoration efforts, and then cleanup efforts over the next week plus for about another $10,000. So all in, we have about $40,000 tied up in the storm, which really is not it's a lot of money by all accounts. You can do a lot with $40,000. Love to have $40,000 to put over on the east side, but it's manageable. It's why we have cash reserves, and it's a testament to hard, efficient work that was done safely and got buttoned up.
Was any of that made able to be cost recovery from the state of Michigan? Did they not count part of Kent County as that disaster? I know, you might have
I've talked to Mike about it and he said that he thought, we were included in the state
Right,
declaration.
okay.
State declared state emergency in Kent County, so we're eligible, but I'm not sure we're gonna hit the funding threshold.
Okay.
So,
Sorry.
but I'm not sure.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Talk about it.
it's one of those things
Hopefully
that
you can get some back.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'd love to. FEMA money's tough to get though. FEMA money's never easy. Anniversaries, I wanna highlight Jared Bennett has been with us for 1 year. He's first year apprentice with us, so he's moving through the program, and we're excited to have him on staff. And then some pictures, if you'll zoom out. So Emily pulled this together for the Weekly Wire, and I stole it just to put in the board packet. But had a really cool, that's obviously Ryan.
He doesn't have his arm around you.
No, I have multiple pictures, and he never once touches me, but he's got his arm around Julie in every single picture.
Yeah, thanks.
Cause I was like, what?
He needed an arm wrestle.
So the Basin Gold Medal weighs 3.5 pounds, has $500 worth of, $500 of silver, or $400 in silver covered and $500 in gold. That was a neat stat, but he was the keynote speaker. Guy was from the UP, won a gold medal in like snowboard racing.
Snowcross, right?
Snowcross,
It's like
yeah.
Team snowcross.
Yes.
Co-ed too.
Co-ed, yeah.
That's his
But Lindsay
person that
Jacob
he
Ellis
raced
was the
with.
other one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the race, it was really cool.
That was super cool. The guy was awesome. He sat around, drank beer all night, sat around and just ate dinner with us. Most of the keynote speakers talk, leave, thanks for my money. He was texting Katie and I don't remember what he said. He said, I'm not, you gotta remember I might be famous, but I'm still from the UP or something. So, but it was a great trip. We toured the Wartzilla plant, which is 51 megawatt, 17 megawatt natural gas reciprocating engine plant that Marquette has. Really cool facility. Should have included more pictures of that because it was pretty awesome. They had a piston.
Connecting rod and the piston.
I knew he knew the actual terms. It was about this tall that shot out the side of one engine. I'm glad nobody was standing around it, but to see the mass and just how much inertia and how much mass is moving. And these things you have to climb up, and we were fortunate they had all the covers. I'm using the wrong terms. What did they pull off?
Well, they were doing maintenance,
Yeah.
18,000-hour maintenance to one of them, so they had the heads and all the covers off the top of the engine, doing a total maintenance plan on it. It was holy moly.
Yeah, it was really neat. It was neat because, and to hear
It's a
the
building size engine, right?
They were gas.
what's
It's
that?
a building size engine,
Natural
like,
gas pipe.
Yeah, I mean,
like the kind
it,
you put in ships or something.
yeah, it was, so originally it was used for, the Wartzillas were developed for, marine.
Okay.
I actually saw a story on the Wartzilla one, it was like 100 megawatt, or it was a massive unit, but it was a really neat tour. Got to see some neat stuff. They were talking about, they produce a low frequency vibration that it's weird to feel a low frequency vibration because it's not really shaking, it's the frequency that you feel it in your chest.
Yes.
And there are people across the street, hundreds of yards away, that the general manager of Marquette, Tom, would go and sit in their house and say, yeah, we need to do something. They spent over $1 million to renovate the building, to control this low frequency vibration. But there are customers 300 yards away that their air duct registers are rattling. It's like,
Plus they can't run on that, the normal RPM. They have to run on a little slower than what they normally would operate, and they only run at 50 hertz instead of 60 hertz.
that is true, yeah. Yeah, but
To get by that.
it was a really neat tour. Ryan was probably more in his element than I was, but it was cool. Casey was definitely in his element.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
He was loving it.
He disappeared in the building after we were done in the generator room with some other fella from. and
Yeah, that's
he
what-
just disappeared into the office and we left him.
Yep, that's when Ryan, Julie, and I went to the lake.
yes.
Actually, it was. We were staying, and Ryan Casey was hitting the road though. So, if you want to scroll to the next one, we will wrap up real quick. It's after 9. So Ryan sent this picture. I thought that one in the middle was really cool. It's all the Pink Arrow banners laid out on the floor.
That was great.
I think it's just it's such an awesome picture because it for one, it shows the pride that the guys take
Yeah.
and something so
The
meaningful in the
care that you
community.
guys put into
Yeah.
those banners,
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
that was great.
If you scroll down, somebody made an appearance that's at the Wardzilla plant.
That's me.
Julie,
I
yep.
have the same sweater on.
Hasn't changed since.
More slime for Julie.
But that was in the MMEA Currents magazine, and then if you'll scroll down and zoom in a little bit, I love the picture, the team
She
picture.
was paying attention, right? In the
Yes.
picture.
Oh, she was.
Not like the guy behind it was, had his eyes.
Oh.
I was listening.
Yeah, you were. Rob Shelley looks like he's gonna hit somebody.
Rob always looks like.
This is an article that MMEA did about the tree giveaway program. I thought it was fun. You see some of the trees behind the guys. Ryan's a tall fella, and so is Mark, and those trees dwarf them. See the tree sticking out of the sunroof, and but it was cool. It got a little bit of exposure amongst our peers, and it was a fun program. And that's all I have. Outside of, actually, I do need scheduled events is on there, and then I want to highlight a couple changes in the performance data if you'll go. So I told you this earlier. If you'll scroll to the bottom, please, Julie. That work? Sorry, the bottom of that page.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. The chart right there. So this is the one I was talking about. It gives you the actual. This was a request, I think. This was the high five moment last meeting. But it's actual value and change from the previous month. And I still wanted to report the restricted cash, but you can see, customer deposits don't really move. Bond reserve fund. I'm not sure where that 727 came from, what that transaction was, but there's very much, the part on the right is very stable. Part on the left is our unrestricted. And then if you will scroll to the third page of the income statement, please. So that's
Okay.
one.
It's not letting me. This page?
Yeah, please scroll a little further.
Yep.
Endless.
There it is. I just want to highlight how we're reporting some of the benevolence with the changes. We're probably going to develop some other reporting tool to put it in there, but wanted to make the board aware of under the miscellaneous. This is in the full income statement. We broke out that in-kind benevolence contribution and financial support. So you'll notice, there's been some activity in here, a lot of, banner work. Banner work's hitting the benevolence. We did a $250 sponsorship of the Harvest Hustle, the 5K for the Harvest celebration that's coming up Saturday. So we did a sponsorship of that. That's where we're calling that benevolence. You can call it marketing, but it really is to support a not-for-profit community. So I wanted to make sure with the changes I was highlighting how that's currently being reported. Like I said, we'll develop probably another static report to go in, figure out the cadence of frequency and how we report out some of that data, because it doesn't move much a lot of months. It might be a little banner work here and there, and I don't want to bog the board down with a little routine work and highlighting some very small dollar amounts. But I did want to make sure the board was aware that the funds are there, they're being reported, and the update to the policy has been implemented. And I think that is my actual finish.
Okay. Next, regular Lowell Power Board meeting, the eve of traditional Michigan holiday, which is November 15th, opening deer hunting season. So this is on the 14th.
In the chain link gate.
Yeah.
You can catch deer.
How's this is a question for Andrew, because how's the robotics, how's that working out?
We're working out great. Still doing, they're twice a week. Every evening.
It's always in the
working
evening
away.
outside of when we're there. I run into Brian here or there. Brian came in, Neil came in. Things have worked really well from our perspective. They seem to be using the space.
Yeah, we've got 3 teams in there, right? So 3 robots and I think
Did you watch,
yesterday, so
did you watch 60 Minutes at all this week?
no.
With the robots and the AI?
Yep,
Oh, man.
self-taught,
I mean,
score, that's pretty
it's-
cool.
it's cool, but stuff that they're talking about is really scary.
Yeah, these kids are gonna do it someday.
Scary in that,
Yes.
Gonna
a
go,
robot
I know.
can take over and be evil.
not in our lifetime.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, well,
So we turn the power off.
or these kids will figure out how to prevent that, right?
Bad.
Find out where they're making it.
Okay,
Yeah, the workspace is looking great.
Porcelain
I
thing.
think all 3 teams have got the robots driving already and up there, so just having the space to even do that is nice, because before we had a classroom where you couldn't drive anything around, so.
okay. Board comment, Andrew.
There's probably too many things to comment on, so there's too many cool things you guys do going on, so you've talked about enough of them, and I'm good for tonight.
Daniel.
I want to say congrats to Jared for getting the CDL and the 1-year anniversary. I want to say thank you to whomever dropped off our tree on Monday after we didn't get the tree thing. I don't know who did it. And for doing the tree
Really with the dog.
event in general.
I got tired of dragging it, just like.
And yeah, I got to experience a power outage today, which is the only one we had one a couple years ago, but I wasn't there for it. And it was quick. I mean, it was snapped off pole. for what it probably takes to do that. They went quick. Do you guys cement those in, or you just dig a hole, plunk them in?
Dirt buried.
Mhm.
Yep, you just fill it with the same dirt that came out.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was quick, I mean,
It was very quick, I think it was under 2 hours. Still in Ryan's thunder for next month, but.
Hard not to talk about it when it's on the same day as
Hey.
board meeting.
Yeah, no,
that's it.
Interrupted my nap. You know, all of a sudden the TV went blank.
Well, that's it.
I was home having lunch and all of a sudden the TV went off and I got the remote going like this.
watching TV or what, are you napping?
You're
Eating
napping
lunch
or
or watching TV?
All three.
That was a heck of an afternoon, I'm jealous.
With baseball on, and I'm out.
But so then I reached over and turned the light, see if the light, and I went, oh, I guess it's the power. And then I got 3 phone calls, you know, hey, the power's out. Did I do something? You know, pay your bill.
Yeah.
Well, it's that time, we're getting towards that time of,
Well, one was a construction site down at my neighbor's. And he was wondering if
forgot.
he hit some wire or something.
Oh.
Okay, Tina,
Whoever has been posting on Facebook about Lowell Power, bravo, because I've seen a lot more traffic recently. And when you brought up that picture of all the banners, how lovingly and respectfully that they were laid out to dry to make sure that they're stored properly, I appreciate that, because that really did hit a chord with a few people in this town, and we appreciate it. With that said, that's all I've got, guys.
Craig,
This weekend and the following weekend, October 14th and October 21st, Fallisburg Historical Society will be hosting an invasive species cleanup in partnership with the Lowell area naturalists. And it will be from 10 a.m. to noon, and we'll be cleaning up knapweed, autumn olive, and oriental bittersweet. We'll need help trimming these things back and pulling the knapweed. And things to bring, gloves, long sleeve shirts, closed-toed shoes, and if you have any kind of equipment to bring, hand saws and such, loppers, that's welcomed, but not necessarily, not necessary. Just dress for the event.
You said this weekend and next?
Yep.
Saturday is.
Saturday's a busy day, yeah, so it'll be interesting. Ours is from 10 to 12 on both those Saturdays, so.
okay. Jim?
What Tina said about Facebook, apparently somebody did put out again that low-light power was definitely for sale, caused a lot of hassle back at City Hall, and regarding that, it was by,
I've not heard about it.
yeah, so, again, it can only be done through the vote of the people, and it's just, so again, it was brought to our attention that it's out there again, so it was kind of another, just wanna just strangle them. You know, I hate to say it, but, you know, so sometimes there's some positive things, but there's also, you know, that community chat and stuff like that part of it.
All right.
So I know who started, I'm not gonna say it in public, but we're aware of it and stuff like that. Charlie, regarding the LCTV grant, because the cable did go out into the townships, I don't see that being an issue, asking for money for things outside the city limits on that part of it, because they also get funding for that too, just FYI. Yep. So. And it's possible that I will probably be here next month, but it's possible it could be my last month because the election is next month and I am up for re-election, so it's been fun sitting here as a liaison. It was fun to serve on it too. All I can say is this board does a fantastic job doing that, and of course all the employees of Lowell Power too. So if I get re-elected, I'm going to stay, but there's a possibility that I may not. so you just never know, but thank you.
If I had anything to do with it, Buck's gonna be in that seat for a million hours.
Well, thanks. That's it, Barry.
Okay, yeah. I like what I hear, I like the idea of, different hours, again, taking into consideration our employees, our customers, whole light and power in a whole. I did, I'm assuming it was a fishing expedition, but, a complaint, on my,
Technology?
on my, tablet, didn't open it, just
Perfect. You get deleted.
deleted it.
Perfect.
I assume that's what it was.
Doesn't matter. No, that, I mean, really, it's doing what it's supposed to. I mean, you stopped and said, this might be fake.
Well, we had one before where, oh, this low line power received a complaint and yada, 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 and you wanna, no, I just have gotten, so I just delete everything.
And that's where, and I'll tell you, so, you bring
If
up
we need to get a hold of you, you'll find out.
you bring up a good point. We actually had, so internally, we have a button that you click, report phishing. If it's a fake email, one of the ones that we send out to the test, it'll tell you, congratulations, this was simulated attack, you passed. I will say, maybe 10% of the emails that I report are ones that we send out. And we have been hit regularly, if not every day.
This didn't say, you passed the,
Well, this is, if you just delete it, you won't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
This is a
Yeah,
separate tool
correct.
it's just I'm sure there's a tablet version, but there's a new, not new, I'm sure, but we've recently been hit with a new type of attack regularly, where they don't actually ask you to do anything, except for reply. Regards, there's things like, my email said, I sent Julie an email that said, could you please stop by my
Good
office?
day.
Good day. Please stop by my office so I can have you perform administrative type duties. Are you available? Like what they're doing is trying to get a reply. You reply, you're now a target. Now they know there's a person on the other end, and people are the weakest link in any IT system, typically. Now they know they've got a person they can attack. So, and we've seen, I've gotten them from
I get them
Mike.
every day from, Geek Squad.
Yeah.
It says it's from Geek Squad, I
Yeah.
should say.
I actually I just got one, and they're tricky. They are more and more sophisticated. So yeah, I know it's a little bit of a pain, but the world we live in is that world.
Mm-hmm.
You thank all the yahoos out there that are doing yahoo things to make it necessary.
So got one from manager@lowell.org.
Yeah.
So like Craig, blah, 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 blah,
Yes, delete.
yeah. And I moved it to junk, but yeah.
Yes.
so the survey.
It's-
Now, do you see the results of the survey?
I guess I might be missing, yeah.
Not the
Sure.
survey of that we had to do on the,
Oh, the IT survey.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, of course I see a survey, we just talked about it, and I'm missing something.
No,
The other survey.
The IT
yeah.
survey.
The IT survey, I'm not sure how that's used, honestly.
Okay.
I'll need to talk with Lisa. You leave some comments for me? You want me to review it?
No,
You got a big smile on your
I just
face.
wanna know if it shows what Perry Beecham wrote on his survey.
Oh,
He's gonna go check now. So I gotta read
What do you do if you click on it? Turn off computer.
No,
Burn laptop.
the survey, you go down, that was agree, disagree, or there's one in the middle, said, don't really agree or don't disagree or whatever. I don't know how many, there's 31 questions on there.
I don't remember. Everybody else had it done too.
Let me just tell
Everybody else had it done 2
you,
months
there's
ago.
31 disagree, don't disagree.
That's fair enough.
Prove me wrong.
It's like, right in the middle of the road, it's like, I'm tired, I'm just doing this on every one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
Okay,
that.
with
I
that,
remember the
Keep
survey.
deleting the emails, Tyler.
Yeah. I remember the details of the survey, but I didn't do it 3 months ago.
Okay, delete survey.
Not yet, okay, it's not adjourned yet.
what?
I asked if you already did adjourn, I have to write down the time.
No, we haven't got it.
Okay, wait.
Is there a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
and support?
Support.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Hey, Andrew, do you like how the pavement came out on Grindle?